The river whispered under the stone bridge as Arya Stark balanced on its parapet. Her arms stretched wide, dark hair whipped by the wind that swept down from the mountains. Below, the slow-moving water caught splinters of late afternoon light, scattering them like shards of yellow glass. She had not meant to wander so far from the royal party that sprawled along the King's Road like a snake of bright banners and clanking wagons, but the taste of saddle dust clung to her tongue, and the laughter of her direwolf Nymeria promised better adventure than Sansa's endless sighs about courtly manners. Nymeria padded beside her, silver gray fur rippling, amber eyes sharp and alert. Every so often the wolf glanced back toward the road, ears pricked, as though to remind her mistress that the world of men waited with its stern expectations. Arya ignored the hint, hopping from stone to stone until she spied movement atop the rise. Two figures drawing near, one small and quick, the other tall and resplendent in gilded leather. Micah the butcher's boy came first, cheeks ruddy with excitement, wooden waster clutched in grubby hands. Behind him rode crowned Prince Joffrey Baratheon on a white palfrey, gold braid glimmering at his shoulders. Sunlight haloed his pale hair, and the Lion of Lannister roared upon the clasp at his cloak. Arya felt her heart tighten. She remembered Bran's tales of Joffrey's sneer, the casual cruelty in his voice when he spoke of hounds and small folk. In the true telling of the tourney at Winterfell, it had not been victory that thrilled Joffrey, but the sight of his opponent cowed in fear. But today, the prince's expression was changed, earnest, almost shy, as he reined in and called across the grass. "Lady Arya," he said, forcing warmth into titles seldom offered. "Would you care to show us how a northerner wields her steel?" Micah beamed, clearly proud to be counted in such company, though his knees quaked. Arya glanced at Nymeria, who returned her look with wordless confidence. In the true history, Arya had laughed at the prince's haughty tone, had lashed out to defend a boy too low-born to matter, and the riverbank had erupted in blood and broken skin, blade flashing, wolf attacking. That path led to screams, to Sansa's tears, Lady's death, and a wound in the Stark Lannister alliance that bled all the way to war. But there are forks even in the stoniest road, and sometimes a child's single breath can change the world's long song. Instead of derision, Arya heard a plea for recognition beneath Joffrey's practiced veneer. She recalled her father's words the night before, when he had knelt to fasten her cloak. "Even quarrelsome pups may grow into loyal hounds, little one. Judge them not by today's snarl." Arya stepped down from the parapet, dusted stone grit from her palms, and smiled. A shy, startled curving of lips unused to courtly softness. "Your Highness," she answered, giving the slight bow she had practiced badly under Septa Mordaine's stern eye. "If you swear no harm, I will gladly spar." Nymeria huffed, then settled on her haunches in tacit agreement. Joffrey's blue eyes widened, as though the girl he had expected to defy him had vanished, replaced by a creature of unexpected grace. "I swear it," he said, placing a gloved hand upon his breast in solemn oath. "No edge, no harm." He dismounted, drawing his own blunted tourney sword from its painted scabbard. The sunlight kissed the steel as he touched its flat to his brow, a gesture learned from Master-at-Arms Aaron Santagar, no doubt. He handed the sword to Arya. "You first." She waited, too long for her yet, but lighter than needle's promised bite, balanced for flourish more than kill. Micah circled, eager to begin. Arya advanced, feet remembering the steps her half-brother Jon had taught her. Left, right, half-turn, water dancer's slide. The wooden waster flashed as Micah swung high, and she parried, sparks of laughter flying louder than the clap of wood. The prince watched, lips parted. She drove Micah back with quick taps to his thigh, then hopped aside and saluted Joffrey with the blade. "My turn," the prince announced, taking up another waster from his squire. Sansa reached them at last, cheeks flushed, Lady trotting at her side. "Joff, you mustn't," she began, but fell silent as Arya grinned and lunged. For a breath the world shrank to scraped grass and wooden swords, to Nymeria's panting and the thud of boots. Joffrey was taller, his reach longer, but Arya's legs were cat-quick. her reflex a song of Winterfell snow. Their blades met, parted, met again in ringing cadence. When the prince overextended on a flourish, Arya darted beneath his guard, tapped his hip, and sprang back before his riposte could land. He laughed, clean, surprised laughter, and saluted her. "Again," he demanded, cheeks glowing with honest delight. They fought until sweat dampened silk and wool alike, until Micah collapsed giggling on the grass and Sansa clapped encouragement, hair shining copper in the sun. Even Nymeria's wariness softened into contented watchfulness. At last Joffrey yielded, dropping his sword and raising both hands. "I concede, my lady. You fight like the wind on the wall." Arya's face burned with pride. She offered the blade back hilt first, bowing as she had seen knights do to jousting champions. Joffrey accepted, then surprised her by pressing his free hand over hers, sealing knightly respect with princely warmth. "I think," he said, voice pitched so all might hear, "that we shall be good friends." The words stirred the air like the flap of ravens' wings. Sansa's breath caught audibly. Even Nymeria's ears twitched. The page boy who served as Joffrey's squire narrowed his eyes in suspicion, but the prince did not release Arya's hand until he had kissed her knuckles with ceremonial flourish. In that instant Lady Catelyn's daughter of Winterfell stood equal with the lion of Lannister's heir, and the branch of fate bent with a creak that only the gods could hear. That night the royal encampment shimmered beneath a half-moon. Braziers spat orange sparks into the purple dusk, cooking meat and sweet onions scenting the breeze. Hounds yipped at stray embers, minstrels tuned lutes, and in the linen pavilion reserved for Lord Eddard Stark's family, two sisters sat by lamplight regarding each other as though newly met. Sansa brushed her copper-gold hair, each stroke precise. "You were very brave," she said, though resentment edged the compliment. "But you mustn't embarrass the prince by besting him so boldly." Arya, sprawled on furs, hugged her knees. "He enjoyed it," she insisted. "Didn't you see him smile? He never smiles like that." "He smiled at you," Sansa murmured. Her blue eyes reflected lamplight like twin moons. "And he praised your skill before the whole court. Septa says men wish to appear superior." She chewed her lip. "But perhaps Joff is more gallant than most." Rare gentleness bridged the usual gulf between sisters. Sansa set down her brush. "Father will be pleased," she said. "No blood was shed. Lady is safe, and mother will not scold." "Lady should thank Nymeria," Arya retorted. "She held herself better than many knights would. Still, father will see the prince's favor as advantageous," Sansa concluded with sudden carefulness. Eddard Stark's honor was the steel that girded their lives, but even honor could shine brighter when oiled by royal regard. Arya stared at the pavilion's flap, thinking of Joffrey's eyes when he spoke of friendship. Were they truly kind or merely amused? She replayed every thrust, every stroke, trying to discern if any moment had stung his pride beyond forgiveness. Yet she found only laughter there, bright, unpracticed. Across the camp, Nymeria prowled beyond the fire line, keeping vigil for wolves of lesser heart. Lady slumbered near Sansa's feet, serene and dream-bound. The night sighed, and in its breath Arya sensed the world tilting, as though a giant hand had nudged the board upon which kings and queens were mere carved men of wood. When dawn unfurled its pink banners, ravens gossiped among skeletal trees. Eddard Stark found Prince Joffrey waiting at his tent, hair combed, doublet immaculate, no guards but the squire who trembled behind him. "Ned," the boy declared, too informal but earnest, "I beg a morning ride with your daughter under escort of Ser Roderick if you wish. I would show her the Ringfort ruins an hour hence." Eddard's eyes narrowed slightly. He had seen low sun glint off executioner's steel and knew the weight of unsaid threats. But here the boy's request held no menace. Instead he glimpsed the ghost of youth's yearning, to be admired, to connect beyond gilded cage. "Arya is free to choose," Ned replied. "If she agrees, Ser Roderick shall accompany you." His hand fell to the pommel of Ice's smaller traveling blade, a habitual gesture of measured caution. Joffrey bowed, then strode away, cloak swirling. Inside, Arya blinked at the notion of castle ruins and royal company. "Will you allow me, father?" Ned studied her face, the stubborn chin of his sister Lyanna, the wild brightness in gray eyes. "A wolf may run alongside lions for a time," he answered, "so long as she remembers her pack." Arya pressed her cheek to his chest in silent promise. Thus they rode, prince and maiden, old knight and two direwolves, winding through grasslands where early morning frost clung like sugar crystals. The hills breathed mist. Birds rose in startled flocks at their passage. Atop the crumbling ring fort, a circle of moss-eaten stone older than the kingdoms, Joffrey dismounted and helped Arya down. Such courtesy was wasted on her agile limbs, yet she accepted, remembering Septa's lecture on grace. Nymeria scaled the rubble in 3 bounding leaps, pausing to gaze north toward snow-capped peaks. "My father seldom lets me wander," the prince confessed, gloved hands clasped behind him as he paced the weather-smoothed battlements. "I am ever trailed by master-at-arms, maesters, or septs, but today I wanted no courtier's eyes." Arya followed, brushing frost-crusted lichen. "Why me, then?" He shrugged, face turned from her. "Because you did not fear me, and because you fight as though life itself is a game to be played rather than guarded." She snorted. "Swordplay is no game. Yet you smiled as you struck," he countered, halting. "I have faced older squires who fight only to show their strength, and men at arms who fight to survive. But you," he tilted his head, "you fight to feel alive." Arya considered. "My dancing master says every breath of life is drawn by the sword's point. Perhaps he means the same." Joffrey laughed softly. It was a new sound, stripped of cruelty, unguarded. "I envy your freedom." "Freedom?" She gestured at his polished cuirass, the clasp of a lion's head biting a ruby-studded crown. "You are prince of the realm." He touched the clasp. "So they remind me. Yet when I wake, a dozen voices tell me what I must be. My mother scolds if I slouch. My father scorns if I flinch at blood. Ser Jaime teaches courage with a wink, while Lord Varys teaches caution with a smile. I am carved like clay, and each sculptor claims the right shape." Arya dug boot toe into dirt. "Then shape yourself." He blinked. "Simple as that?" "Not simple," she corrected, "but possible." She pointed east, where sunlight painted gold across the river valley. "See that hawk?" A lone raptor rode thermals, wings outstretched. "Does it ask the wind how to fly?" The prince's lips parted, breath fogging. "You make me believe the world can change." Arya turned away, embarrassment prickling her cheeks. No one had ever told her she moved hearts, only that her wildness was a burden. Yet here the heir of the 7 kingdoms spoke as though her words bore crown and scepter of their own. Their conversation meandered like the river below. Childhood dreams, whispered fears, the taste of fresh bread from Winterfell's ovens, the scent of lion banners in King's Landing's dust. Arya found herself confessing nightmares of Septa Mordane's strict eyes and Sansa's scorn. Joffrey, in turn, admitted terror of failing in tourneys before the realm. For a moment, under the naked sky, they were simply boy and girl, stripped of lineage. By the time they returned, Ser Roderick's beard was crusted with frost, and campfires sent greasy smoke heavenward. The royal party prepared to break camp. Cersei Lannister watched their approach through narrowed emerald eyes, a polite smile frozen on her beautiful face. "My son," she said, tone honeyed and dangerous. "I worried for you." Her gaze flicked to Arya, assessing, weighing. Joffrey bowed to his mother. "We viewed the Ringfort ruins, mother." Lady Arya spoke of northern history. "Ser Roderick guarded us most ably." "A generous gesture," Cersei murmured. Arya sensed currents beneath the queen's words, questions of motives and alliances. Cersei reached to brush dust from Joffrey's sleeve. "You must attend your studies with Grand Maester Pycelle now. War of Conquest Chronicles." "Later, mother," he replied too quickly. "I wish to ride with Arya and Sansa when we depart." Cersei's smile thinned. "Your father will speak with you first." At mention of the king, Joffrey straightened. He nodded, glancing once at Arya with apology before following a Lannister guard toward the royal pavilion. Cersei's gaze settled on Arya like a jeweled dagger. You are younger than Sansa, yet fiercer. The Starks breed unusual daughters. Arya swallowed. Your grace honors me.
Honor.
Cersei tasted the word, a virtue much admired in the north. She touched Arya's cheek, a caress cold as polished gold. But remember, in the south, honor is easily devoured. She drifted away, skirts swaying like flames. Arya's heart thudded. She found Ned nearby, observing with unreadable eyes. Father, she whispered, voice trembling though the morning had turned warm. He laid a heavy hand on her shoulder. You have stepped onto a board where queens and wolves play for keeps. Tread carefully, little horse. As the royal procession rolled south, rumble of carts and hoofbeats echoed between wooded hills. Banners of crowned stag and lions snapped overhead, stitched satin reflecting midday sun. Alongside them rode direwolves, black-cloaked Northmen, and more frequently than the tales would later recall, the laughter of a prince and a wolf girl. Joffrey began to seek Arya's company daily. They invented games, tossing pine cones into saddlebags at gallop, racing fallen leaves upon stream currents, composing rude limericks about pompous knights. Sometimes Sansa joined, cheeks pink with uneasy delight. Other times she rode ahead, seeking ladies' silent assurance. When Septa Mordain scolded Arya for muddy boots, Joffrey intervened with a wry apology, claiming responsibility for leading the young lady into research of local terrain. Septa's outrage melted beneath the prince's practiced charm. Even King Robert noticed, squinting one evening over a skin of strong wine as Joffrey and Arya debated merits of single combat versus column charge. Gods preserve us, Robert boomed. The boys found a sparring partner he can't cower. He clapped Ned's shoulder. Perhaps your wolf cub will tame my cub lion. Ned forced a smile, but later he penned a letter to Catelyn warning that the winds of politics were shifting faster than ravens' wings. Far ahead, the walls of King's Landing rose, heat shimmered and yellow as old parchment. The city stank of dung and spiced fish, of Tyroshi dye and alchemist fire. Yet to Arya its sprawl promised new alleyways for adventure. She longed to chase cats across rooftops, to test her mettle in the shadow of the Iron Throne. But within the Red Keep, corridors twisted like veins of a slumbering dragon. Gossip foamed in tapestry's folds. Cersei's green eyes tracked every smile exchanged between prince and wolf girl. Varys's spiders whispered of northern honor entwined with southern pride. One evening, after supper of honeyed quail, Joffrey led Arya to the Maiden Vault, an unused tower chamber overlooking Blackwater Rush. Moonlight silvered cobwebbed rafters. I have a gift. He opened his fist, revealing a brooch shaped as a leaping direwolf, forged in silver, eyes set with tiny sapphires. My mother insists I wear my house upon my breast. I would rather wear a friend's. Arya's throat tightened. She touched the brooch, feeling the cold bite of metal and something warmer beneath, the risk of trust. Take it, he urged. And when you fight, know the crown fights with you. I am no knight, she answered, voice rough. Not yet, he whispered. Below, the city murmured, oblivious to a boy's fragile oath. But in the godswood north of the wall, a weirwood's face shivered, for the sap that dripped from its red mouth tasted of names carved anew. Winterfell felt distant as old songs, yet ravens still flew north, bearing tidings. Catelyn's letters spoke of Bran's slow recovery after his fall, of Robb's heavy burden as heir left behind. But in this altered season, news came also of Lady's pups grown strong, for the direwolf had not paid with her life for a prince's wounded pride. In the original tale, that death carved ice between Stark and Lannister. Here, living fur instead warmed hearts. Lady's survival softened Cersei's wrath toward Eddard's brood. Her own twin Jaime, ever alert to openings, teased his sister that a single spared wolf might spare them years of northern rebellion. So alliances shifted, subtle as the slide of oiled steel, unseen by those who still measured honor in plain words. Yet not all welcomed peace. Sandor Clegane watched Joffrey's newfound gentleness with suspicion sharp as a butcher's cleaver. Littlefinger's sly grin widened as he calculated dowries and debts. Even Renly Baratheon, laughing lord of easy charm, observed with narrowed eyes, for nothing so threatened a realm's balance as the unexpected friendship of natural foes. On the terrace of the small hall, Joffrey and Arya practiced stances under the tutelage of Syrio Farrell, recently summoned from Bravos at Ned's request, for the girl's joy in water dancing had won her father's heart. Syrio glided like smoke, wooden blades tapping shoulders and hips, correcting as he told tales of sea kings and moon maidens. Joffrey sweated and slipped, but persevered, driven not by fear but by the admiration shining in Arya's eyes. When he lost balance, she caught his elbow. When she stumbled, he steadied her. Their laughter drifted on warm air, mingling with gull cries. Sansa watched from a balcony, torn between envy and awe. She pressed knuckles to her mouth, wondering if songs might be rewritten to feature a prince and a wolf girl dancing swords instead of hearts. Summer stretched, though old Nan's tales warned that seasons could turn without mercy. In brothels, whispers told of a hand who sought truth in parchment. In council chambers, Tywin Lannister's letters scolded his grandchildren to remember blood owed no beggars. And on the stepstones, Cell-sails hired by Stannis Baratheon plotted salt-stained dreams. But within the red keep's echoing vaults, night came gentle. Arya and Joffrey sprawled atop a tower roof, watching stars spill across velvet sky. Nymeria and Lady lay curled together, white-gray and cream fur entwined. "Do you believe the old gods watch us?" Joffrey asked. Arya traced the sword-shaped constellation with her finger. "I believe every choice makes its own god." He turned toward her, moonlight painting his profile in silver. "Then what god did we make on the riverbank?" She rolled onto her side, eyes wide. "A god of new paths." Joffrey hesitated, then reached to take her hand. His fingers trembled, more from hope than cold. Arya allowed it, feeling his pulse echo hers. Far below, in dungeon, damp with forgotten sorrows, rats paused mid-scurry, sensing a tremor in fate's weaving. And in the crypts beneath Winterfell, where kings knelt stone-silent, direwolf shadows stirred against torchless walls. For the North remembers, and it heeds every heartbeat of its wandering children. Weeks flowed into each other like paint in water. Council meetings brimmed with talk of treasury deficits, but Robert's boisterous moods improved each time Joffrey praised the honor of the North. Ned began to hope that the king's restless temper might settle, that alliances of youth could mend what older hearts had broken. Yet truths buried in snow and blood rarely stay hidden. Varys's little birds returned to their master with secrets dripping honey. Jon Arryn's investigations into royal bastards, lineage cloaked in coal-black hair, a queen's fear of exposure, a twin brother's sword unsheathed in silent corridors. When Ned confronted Cersei in the Godswood, warning her to flee with her children before Robert learned of treason, she answered with a thin smile. But this time the queen's calculus included not only her 3 golden-haired babes, but also a prince newly bonded to a wolf girl whose father commanded legions. "Power resides where men believe it," she said, voice silk-soft. "And belief is shaped by affection more easily than by fear. My son's heart now beats in rhythm with a Stark's. Would you see it stopped?" Ned's stern facade cracked. "I would see him safe from the consequences of your sins." Cersei's laugh was a crystal dagger. "Then pray he stays near your daughter. Her honor may yet shield him from sharp truths." But the realm had grown addicted to whispers. When Robert set out on his boar hunt, hungover and reckless, wine princeling in tow, Varys arranged for a potent skin of fortified spirits to accompany them. The king drank deep. The boar charged. Squires stumbled. Blood soaked sodden leaves. In the true telling, Joffrey received news of his father's mortal wound with blank terror. Here, he was at Arya's side in the practice yard when a white-lipped messenger arrived. The prince swayed. Arya steadied him. In Robert's tent, the king's breaths came ragged. Ned knelt, heart heavy, as Robert grasped his hand. But when Joffrey entered, Arya guiding him, Robert's eyes gleamed with watery pride. "My boy," he rasped, for tusk wound oozing. "Stand tall." Joffrey knelt instead, clutching his father's bloody fingers. "Forgive me," he whispered. "I should have been with you." "Your place was with the realm," Robert answered, pain distorting his grin. "And with friends who teach you honor." His gaze flicked to Arya, and a ghost of merriment sparked. "A Stark will keep you honest, I'll wager." Eddard swallowed. The king squeezed his hand weakly. "You'll guide him. Promise me, Ned." "I will," Ned swore. Robert sagged, exhaustion flooding his limbs. "And tell my sweet Ling, I loved her once." It was unclear whom he meant. Lyanna, or perhaps Cersei, or perhaps the realm itself, that fractious bride of kings. He died before moonrise. Chaos followed, yet its pattern was altered. Cersei moved to seize the throne for her son, but Joffrey refused to sign decrees until Lord Stark approved them. "He is my hand," Joffrey declared to a stunned council. "If I am to be king, I will not rule by half measures of fear." Littlefinger's schemes faltered under unexpected cooperation. Pycelle's parchments were rendered moot. Only Ser Barristan Selmy stood unsurprised. He had seen young rulers choose strange counselors before. But kingship is a forge. The hotter the fire, the surer the shape. Rival factions rose. Renly with his Rainbow Guard, Stannis mustering fleets, Robb Stark restless in Winterfell. Still, letters bearing the seal of a leaping direwolf beside a crowned stag flew north, calming the young lord's wrath. Arya, once overlooked, found herself besieged by whispers. "New Alice Karstark come south," some said. Others called her the wolf who tamed the lion. Songs sprouted like wildflowers, sweet and thorned. She bore them with weary grin, trusting only the quiet counsel of her dancing master. Syrio taught her that water obeys no wall. When the hand Ned Stark uncovered proof of Joffrey's illegitimacy, black-haired bastards reflecting the Baratheon line, he brought the scroll first to his daughter. Arya read in flickering lamplight, eyes widening. "Will you tell Joff?" "Truth cuts," Ned answered, "but lies bleed whole kingdoms." They summoned the prince at dawn. Sunlight broke over the sea as Joffrey entered the hand's solar, hair unbound, eyes shadowed by sleepless night. "What news, Lord Stark?" he asked, though dread trembled in each syllable. Ned placed the parchment before him, hand steady. "Your Grace, I pray you read." Joffrey scanned the words. He shook his head, golden hair swaying. "No, this cannot be." "It is," Ned said softly. "The line of descent proves it." The boy's breath hitched. "She said father loved me." Ned rose, crossing to lay a hand upon his shoulder. "Robert loved who you chose to become." Joffrey's eyes filled, but tears did not fall. "What am I now?" Arya stepped forward, direwolf brooch glinting. "You are still Joffrey, my friend. Titles are wind. Deeds are stone." He looked at her, truly looked, and in her gaze read the untarnished mirror of his own worth. Slowly he nodded. "You will stand with me?" he asked, voice hoarse. "Until my last breath," she swore. Ned exhaled. Whether in relief or resignation, he could not tell. For truth does not end tales. It merely lights the darker corridors. Behind those doors waited Lannister fury, Baratheon claims, dragons stirring across the narrow sea. Yet on that cool morning, in a room where parchment weighed as much as Valyrian steel, a prince chose honesty over crown, and a wolf girl clasped his hand. Their silhouettes, framed by dawn, cast a single long shadow upon the stone floor. Two figures, but one resolve. Outside the window, ravens burst skyward, black ink splashed upon pink clouds. They carried diverging futures in their wings, but for a heartbeat, the currents of history swirled into calm. And somewhere, far beyond walls of men, the old gods watched with red, weeping eyes, surprised to find hope sprouting from bloodied soil. End of Part 1, approximately 35,000 characters. Let me know when you'd like the next installment, and we will continue weaving this slow-burn alternate saga. Rain swept across the red, keep in unhurried sheets, sluicing down rose-red walls and gathering in slick runnels along the courtyard flagstones. From a narrow window of the Tower of the Hand, Arya Stark watched the droplets race each other, her breath fogging dragon-shaped mullions. Somewhere below, ravens argued within the rookery, and a hammer rang in the armory court. Single, resolute strikes that sounded like the heartbeat of a city bracing for a storm not born of clouds. She should have been at lessons with Septa Mordain, reciting the sigils of minor crownlands' houses, but the rain had drowned the Septa's patience. Distant thunder had loosened tongues and tempers alike. Stable boys shouting over startled horses, guards cursing wet leather, pages laughing as they darted between puddles. Yet through it all Arya heard an undertone of fear. The Red Keep was no longer merely a palace. It felt like a wine barrel left in the sun too long, swelling toward rupture. Behind her, the door's iron latch clicked. She spun instinctively, hand brushing the hilt of needle, still sheathed, as Lord Stark forbade carrying bare steel in the corridors. Joffrey stood framed in the doorway, pale hair damp at the tips, cloak dripping on the rushes. His blue eyes searched the chamber as if expecting ghosts. "You vanished after breakfast," he said, voice pitched low. "I thought you'd be in the yard." "Syrio dismissed practice," Arya replied, turning back to the window to hide her unease. "Said water dancers can learn much from watching the rain." "Can they?" Joffrey stepped beside her, following her gaze toward the haze-soft city roofs. "I see nothing but gray." "That is the lesson," she murmured. "Sometimes the sword must find its path through mist." He grunted, half amusement, half frustration. "My path feels buried beneath a mountain of parchment." I spent the morning hearing Grand Maester Pycelle enumerate every precedent for a king's abdication, each thicker than the last. He raked wet hair from his brow. He prattled about Valor Targaryen laying down claim for his brother Baelor in 171st year after Aegon's conquest, as though I might replicate the gesture and all would be well. Arya studied the tension in his jaw, the tremble in his fingers where they gripped the sill. Since the letter's revelation 10 days past, Joffrey had oscillated between resolve and terror. He summoned small council sessions only to fall silent before Tywin's proxy missives. He drafted decrees and burned them in the brazier. Meanwhile, Cersei's smile grew thinner by the hour. "Maybe Syrio would say the same," Arya ventured. "A water dancer cannot defeat waves. She must become part of them. And drown." Joffrey's laugh was brittle. "If I relinquish the throne, Stannis will claim it. He will see me as abomination. My sister, my brother, mother herself. What becomes of them?" He tore his gaze from the rain. "What becomes of me?" Arya reached, took his hand as she had the night of Robert's passing. "You become who you decide to be." His grip tightened. "Would it were so simple." A flicker of rueful amusement. "I think I preferred you when you called me Prince with scorn." "I could still scorn you," she answered, lips quirking despite everything. "Later, perhaps." His smile faded. "My mother sends for you." She requested privacy. A pulse throbbed in Arya's throat. "Why?" He shrugged, but dread pooled in his eyes. "She claims she would speak woman to woman. I told her you answer only to Lord Stark, but she insisted. If I attend, she'll mask every intent behind courtesy. If you go alone." "I'll not be alone," Arya said, patting Needle. "And Nymeria waits outside her doors these days." A shadow crossed her face. "Still, I'll tread softly." Joffrey released her hand, stepping back. "If anything seems amiss, send the signal." She nodded. They had devised a set of silent cues, Syrio's suggestion. 2 curt scratches on any wooden surface, repeated thrice, would summon Joffrey with Sandor or Ser Barristan in tow. A single slow scrape would instead bring Ser Roderick or Ned. "Where will you be?" she asked. "Small council chamber," he sighed, arguing with Littlefinger about coin shortages. His cloak dripped once more as he pivoted away. "I'd rather face a direwolf's jaws." "You might yet," Arya teased weakly, then watched him go. His footsteps faded, swallowed by thicker sounds. The hush of the rain, the boom of distant surf, her own heartbeat. Minutes later, she strode along damp corridors lit by torches that hissed in the humid air. Nymeria materialized from a side arch, falling into silent pace beside her. Guards recognized the wolf now, though they still eyed her warily. Arya scratched behind silver ears, drawing courage from warm fur. Queen Cersei's solar lay behind carved oak doors depicting the Seven. Lannister guards flanked them, crimson cloaks darkened by moisture. At Arya's approach, they crossed spears, tips glistening. "Her Grace expects me," Arya said, voice steady. One guard nodded, rapped twice, then pulled a door half open. Candlelight spilled, gold and tremulous. Nymeria attempted to follow, but the second guard blocked her with spear butt. "Alone, milady," he growled. "Queen's orders." Arya's skin prickled. She met Nymeria's eyes, gave a slight nod. The wolf's hackles rose, but she backed 3 paces, crouched by a pillar, watchful. Inside, the door thudded shut. Cersei reclined on a chaise by a brazier where cedar logs hissed. She wore an emerald gown sleeved in golden thread. Her pale hair flowed like molten coin. A goblet rested in one hand, red wine clinging to the rim. The queen's smile glimmered. "Lady Arya." "Come, sit." Arya remained standing. "Your Grace wanted words." Cersei's brow arched at the defiance, but she gestured to a low chair nonetheless. "As you wish. Wine?"
"No."
"Very well." She sipped, licking droplets from her lip. "You hold my son's loyalty in unusual thrall. I cannot decide if that is menace or boon." Arya stiffened. "I am his friend, and perhaps more someday." Cersei's gaze drifted to the window, where rain streaked the glass in rivulets. Children's hearts are soft clay. Shape them early, they will hold any brand. Arya drew a breath scented with cedar smoke. "Is that why you summoned me? To warn me away? To weigh you?" The queen's voice softened, strangely mournful. "When I was your age, I dreamed of marrying Prince Rhaegar. I thought a crown would fill every hollow in my soul. Instead, I wed Robert Baratheon, a man who loved another, who nightly drowned memory in wine. I learned the realm's love is fickle, and a woman's worth measured in sons and schemes." She twisted the goblet, watching reflections swirl. "Joffrey is my redemption. I will not let honor's pretty ghost lead him to ruin." Arya bristled. "Honoring truth is not ruin." Cersei laughed, though her eyes remained cold. "Truth? Child, the realm thrives on lies. Coins bear kings' faces. Peasants believe they are minted of justice. If Joffrey proclaims he is no Baratheon heir, what then? War. Stannis marching with fire and faith. Renly with silk and songs. Stark banners rising in wrath. You would cast my son, your friend, into that furnace." Arya swallowed. "Whatever the cost, lies burn hotter." "Not so," Cersei murmured. "They burn slower, like damp wood, giving warmth long enough to survive winter." She leaned forward. "Swear to me you will urge Joffrey to uphold his claim. Swear it on that northern god of yours." Arya's fists clenched. She saw again Joffrey's haunted look while reading Ned's scroll, the tremor in his voice when he'd asked, "Who am I now?" "I will not counsel him to dishonor himself." Cersei's mouth tightened. "I thought as much." She set the goblet down with deliberate care. "Then hear my counsel. Wolves are exalted in the north, but in the south they are hunted. A moment will come when your father must choose between his honor and your life. Pray he chooses wisely." She rose. "You may go." Arya felt the dismissal like a slap. Turning on heel, she marched to the doors. Fingers brushed iron, but paused. She raked 2 swift scratches across the panel's inner edge, signal for Ned. The guards outside would not mark the faint cuts beneath their gauntlets, but Sandor's ears were sharper than plate. When she stepped into the hallway, Nymeria prowled close. Arya knelt, burying her face in thick fur. The wolf's heartbeat thundered calm. Cersei's words buzzed like hornets, but fear transmuted into resolve. She would not betray Joffrey, nor would she abandon the north. Footsteps approached, not hurried, but purposeful. Ser Barristan Selmy rounded the corner, silver hair damp, white cloak clinging to plate. He inclined his head to Arya, blue eyes gentle. "Lady Arya," he greeted. "His Grace summons you to the council chamber." He seemed troubled. Arya rose. "Lead on, Ser." Down spiral stairs they descended, torches fluttering. Nymeria's claws clicked on stone. At the chamber doors, voices soared. Littlefinger's sly tenor, Renly Baratheon's baritone, Pycelle's wheeze. Selmy pushed the door. Conversation died. The table of carved weirwood and ironwood was strewn with scrolls. Joffrey stood at its head, one palm flat upon the surface, knuckles white. Ned Stark occupied a seat at his right, jaw taut. Opposite, Master of Coin Peter Baelish smeared a courteous veneer over bright curiosity. Beside him, Varys steepled soft fingers, eyes half-lidded. Grand Maester Pycelle fretted with papyrus, while Renly lounged near the hearth, stroking the antler sigil at his doublet. Joffrey looked up as Arya entered. Relief flashed across his face. "We can begin," he said. Ned motioned to a cushion for Arya near him. She sat, Nymeria curling behind. Joffrey cleared his throat. "I have considered the realm's stability. Lord Stark has shown me certain truths about my lineage." A ripple across the council. Pycelle's mouth opened then shut. Varys's brow rose imperceptibly. Littlefinger's smile twitched. "These truths place claim to throne into contention. I will not impose civil war." He inhaled. "Therefore, I intend to cede the crown to my uncle Stannis Baratheon, as law dictates." Silence burst like a thunderclap. Then Renly laughed, a sharp bark. "Gracious of you, nephew, though I suspect the realm might prefer a younger stag." "Brother," Ned warned. Renly shrugged. "Merely jesting." Littlefinger tapped parchment. "An admirable posture, your grace. But might I suggest first weighing the leal lord's sentiments? Many would rally behind the memory of King Robert through you." Joffrey's gaze flicked to Arya, steadied. "Memory should rest easy, Lord Baelish, not wield swords for ghosts." Pycelle quavered. "His Eminence the High Septon will require proof." "Proof is abundant," Ned interjected. "Black, of hair, a Baratheon hallmark, missing from royal issue. Bastards sired by the late King Barrett. The Queen's children do not." Varys's whisper slithered. "Evidence may compel some, yet devotion compels more. The Queen retains loyalty of Lion Banners, not to mention City Watch under Commander Janos Slint." Arya felt Jaden's emblem burn against her breast, the silver direwolf Joffrey gifted. She straightened. Loyalty may shift if shown a better master. Heads turned. She flushed but pressed on. Small folk pray for honest rule. If honesty comes from surrendering crown, they'll remember that mercy. Renly crossed arms. "Small folk remember coin, girl. They remember songs," said Ser Barristan from doorway, drawing startlement. "And songs favor virtue." Littlefinger's chuckle rasped. "Songs favor victors. Let us not confuse cause and effect." Ned laid a firm hand over Arya's. "We digress. The boy has spoken his intent. Our task is to ensure safe transition of power." Pycelle wheezed. "Queen Cersei will never yield." "She need not," said Joffrey, voice steady though eyes glistened. "I shall sign a formal renunciation, retain title of Prince of Dragonstone as courtesy, and depart King's Landing under Stark escort until Crown Stannis decrees other." Littlefinger's brows leapt. "A gallant self-exile. But what of your siblings?" "My sister's legitimacy may likewise be questioned," Joffrey said, gaze dropping. "Yet I hold them blameless." He swallowed. "I ask Lord Stark to petition Stannis for clemency." Ned nodded. "I will ride at once to Storm's End when Stannis lands." Renly snorted quietly. Varys folded hands. "A plan wrought of honor, your highness, though I fear its forging will kindle war ere completion. The Lannisters may move swiftly to prevent any proclamation." "Then we must move swifter," Ned declared. He rose. "Lord Baelish, secure the treasury seals. No gold leaves the city until new monarch sits." Ser Barristan, gather the Kingsguard loyal to realm. Lord Renly. Renly lifted palm. Forgive me, Lord Hand, but I've obligations to attend within my own apartments. Ned's eyes hardened. Obligations can wait. The king commands. The ex-king. Littlefinger murmured, smile thin as parchment. Joffrey's lips compressed. I have not yet renounced. Obey Lord Stark. Renly bowed theatrically. As you command, Prince. He drifted out, green cloak whisper. Ingenieur. Pycelle shuffled after, grumbling about letters to the faith. Littlefinger excused himself to quell potential fiscal turbulences, promises clinking like coins in his wake. Varys faded behind them like a shadow dissolving. When doors shut, only Joffrey, Arya, Ned, Ser Barristan, and Nymeria remained. Rain drummed overhead.
Ned exhaled.
We must act tonight, before the queen suspects. She already suspects, Arya murmured. Both men turned. She relayed the conversation in Cersei's solar. Her father's mouth thinned to an iron line. She threatened my daughter, he growled. She fears for her son, Ser Barristan countered gently. A mother's fear can birth murder, Ned replied. Joffrey stared at the table. I will speak with her. That is folly, Ned began, but Joffrey lifted a hand. She is still my mother. If I face her openly, she may relent. No lioness relents when cubs imperiled, Ser Barristan warned. Arya stood. He will not go alone.
Nedes protest fortsat benid hergase.
Very well, the hand said at last. Selmy and I will escort you to her chambers. Sandor's shift guards outside. Arya, you and Nymeria remain in the corridor. If steel is drawn, run to the barracks, find my bannermen. She nodded grimly. Candle hour approached. Torches guttered in corridors smelling of damp stone and smoke. For stoic Northmen flanked Ned as they climbed toward Maegor's holdfast. Joffrey walked between Ned and Barristan, shoulders squared, steps measured. Behind, Arya matched pace, one hand on Nymeria's scruff. At Cersei's doors, Sandor Clegane stood with 2 gold cloaks. His burnt features tightened. Her grace dismissed all visitors, he rasped. She will receive me, Joffrey said quietly. Sandor's eyes flicked to Ned, then Arya, settled on Joffrey. I'll announce you. He pushed inside. Long moments stretched. Rain hammered roof tiles overhead. A raven croaked upon a parapet. Then Sandor reemerged. Enter. Ned touched Arya's shoulder. Remember the signal. She nodded. The men stepped within. Doors shut. Nymeria sat, ears pricked. Arya paced, counting heartbeats. Muffled voices rose, too indistinct to parse. Time crawled like a half-dead lizard. A sudden shout. Arya froze. No steel sang. Then Joffrey's voice, tight. Cannot. Followed by Cersei's sharper reply. Arya edged nearer. Nymeria growled low. The doors burst open. Joffrey strode out, face ashen. His mother followed, green silk swirling like sea foam around a cliff. Behind, Ned and Barristan emerged tense, hands on hilts. Enough, Cersei hissed to Joffrey. Return to your chambers. I will not, he answered, voice breaking. Until you agree. Cersei raised hand to strike him. Arya stepped between, needle drawing halfway. Cersei's palm hovered inches from Arya's cheek. Out of my way. Arya's heart hammered, but she held ground. My father is hand. Harm his blood and you dishonor king's memory. Cersei's eyes burned, yet she lowered her hand. You dare lecture me on honor? She pivoted toward Ned. Call off your girl before I decide Lady should have died after all. Nymeria bared fangs, low growl vibrating corridor. Guards tensed. Threats end now, Ned said. We escort the prince to his chamber. You will remain here under guard until dawn council. Sandor stepped forward. I obey the queen, Lord Stark. Do you obey the realm? Ser Barristan countered, drawing white gold blade. Sandor's hand hovered near his own, yet his eyes flicked to Joffrey, conflict warring in them. Joffrey lifted trembling chin. Sandor, stand down. As your prince, I command. Clegane hesitated, then lowered hand slowly. His scarred face hardened into mask of rough loyalty. Cersei exhaled, venomous. You betray your blood. I defend it, Joffrey said. Likes of Stannis or Renly will kill us all if I cling to false crown. I will not be cause of my siblings' deaths. Tears glazed the queen's eyes. Whether of rage or grief, Arya could not tell. She retreated 2 steps, whispered, "You are no son of mine," and disappeared into her apartments, doors slamming. The sound reverberated like a tomb seal. Silence. Joffrey swayed. Arya caught his sleeve. Ned rested hand on his shoulder. Barristan sheathed blade, nodding to Sandor. "We move," Ned commanded. The procession wound through desolate corridors lit by guttering torches, a cortege of broken trust. Rain finally eased. In its wake, distant waves crashed like drawn breath. Joffrey's chamber overlooked the Blackwater. Inside, a single candelabrum flickered. Robes lay folded on a cedar trunk. A toy stag of painted pine perched on desk, souvenir of some forgotten boyhood. As Ned posted Northmen outside, Joffrey slumped to the edge of his bed, trembling. "I thought she might understand," he whispered. Arya knelt, taking his chilled fingers. "She will one day. Now you must hold fast." He looked at her. "Stay with me tonight." Heat flared in her cheeks. He quickly added, Only to talk. I could not bear solitude." Ned turned, eyebrows raised, but said nothing. Ser Barristan withdrew with Sandor, leaving father, daughter, and prince. Ned's gaze softened. "I shall remain as well," he said, settling into a chair. "We 3 will guard dawn together." Outside, clouds parted. Full moon silvered the river. Arya sat beside Joffrey on tangled coverlets, Nymeria curling at their feet. They spoke in hushed tones long into the night, of Winterfell's Godswood, of Storm's End's beacon tower, of sea spray on Dragonstone's cliffs where Joffrey dreamed to live in exile. Ned listened, quietly mending torn seams of hope with patient words. When exhaustion weighed eyelids, Arya leaned against Joffrey's shoulder. He laid head atop hers. Sleep came fitful but warm, watched over by direwolf eyes and father's silent vigil. At dawn's pale glimmer, bells tolled from the September of Baelor. Solemn, deliberate peals. Arya jolted awake. Ned was already on his feet, hand at sword. "What is it?" Joffrey yawned. "Small folk summoned to square," Ned said. "We must attend." Rising, they found halls bustling. Gold cloaks marshaled throngs toward courtyard, voices sharp, boots thundering. Thunder of another sort, fear, shook the stone itself. As they traversed galleries, Arya glimpsed Sansa near the Maiden Vault stairs, pale and confused. Arya grabbed her hand, pulled her along. The square beyond Great September churned with humanity. Merchants, washerwomen, knights, beggars, all pressed by guards. A scaffold had been erected overnight. On its platform stood Renly Baratheon, wearing green cloak and circlet of staggered antlers. Beside him, Lord Baelish held a scroll bearing great golden seal. Janos Slynt commanded Goldcloak's rank. Renly's voice rang out. "Good people of King's Landing, by right of blood and decree of conscience, I, Renly Baratheon, do claim throne of 7 kingdoms. King Robert, my esteemed brother, named me protector in confidence ere his passing, favoring youth and vigor over rigid dogma. Let realm rejoice." A roar of mixed cheers and murmurs rose. Renly gestured to the empty iron throne displayed upon dais.
Ned kørstunder brett.
Joffrey's eyes widened. From crowd's edge, a trumpet sounded. Stannis Baratheon's ship banners appeared upon river beyond city walls, fiery heart within crown. War had arrived. Chaos erupted. Goldcloaks pushed. Small folk screamed. Vendors toppled stalls. Baelish's grin flashed like a dagger as he melted into retinue. Renly swept cloak, descending dais to mount his horse. Slynt roared orders to seize gates. Ned spun to his daughters. "Back to keep. But Sandor appeared, sword unsheathed. North road blocked. Lion banners muster inside castle. We fight to reach it. Joffrey's voice cut. No, we go to the people.
Ned gaped.
Madness. They must see my choice, Joffrey insisted. I'll yield throne here and now, before Renly crowns himself. Arya met her father's eyes. Truth cuts, she reminded. Ned closed lids a heartbeat, then nodded. Very well. Sandor, surround us. Sell me. But Ser Barristan was already striding ahead, white cloak billowing. He mounted dais steps, ignoring Renly's men who fumbled to intercept. What is this? Renly demanded. Barristan's voice thundered. Make way for Prince Joffrey Baratheon. The title prompted gasps. Barristan turned. Joffrey ascended with Arya and Ned at sides. Rain-washed sunlight struck his hair, highlighting each golden strand like threads of doubt. He surveyed faces. Fear, hope, curiosity, resentment. He breathed. People of Westeros, he called, voice echoing against sept walls. I stand before you burdened by my mother's sin. I am not my father's rightful heir. Gasps. Hush. I renounce claim to Iron Throne. Let law place crown upon Lord Stannis of House Baratheon, first of his name. I ask only safe conduct for my family. A murmur swept. Renly's flush deepened from outrage to calculation. He opened mouth, but a boom of cannon welcomed Stannis's standard rising on City Gatehouse. Navy horns blasted. Joffrey continued. Choose peace. Follow rightful king. He knelt, placing a stag-headed circlet at Barristan's feet. City held breath. Arya's chest ached with pride. Renly stepped forward, voice low. Fool boy, you hand Stannis the city. I hand the realm its law, Joffrey answered. Renly's eyes blazed. Law is quill ink. Power is sword steel. A commotion near gates. City watch splitting ranks as smattering of Florent and Baratheon soldiers surged. Catapults thudded. Panic rippled. Ned drew blade.
Renly stand aside.
Never, Renly hissed, unsheathing. I claim what is owed. Slint's gold cloaks leveled spears at dais. Sandor and Northmen closed ranks. Barristan planted himself between Renly and Joffrey. Arya pushed Sansa behind Nymeria, who snarled. Blood scented air before steel clashed. A spear darted. Barristan parried. Sandor's greatsword cleaved helm. Small folk shrieked, scattering. Overhead, bells tolled again, now alarm. Arya's world shrank to blur of motion. She saw Littlefinger guiding cloaked men toward dais flank. Daggers glinting. Needles slid free, lighter than fear. She lunged, intercepting first assassin. Her blade slipped beneath his armpit, warm wetness spurting. Training and instinct danced. Beside her, Sansa screamed but threw a pebble, striking second attacker's cheek. His knife missed Arya by finger's breadth. Nymeria leapt, jaws closing on his throat. Joffrey shouted above din. Enough! No one heeded. Renly advanced on Barristan, green gilt blade whistling. Barristan, though aged, moved with sunlit grace. He parried thrice yet stumbled on blood-slick plank. Renly's point pricked his pauldron, glanced off. Ned moved to aid, but Goldcloaks pressed. Suddenly horns blared again, this time from Western Gate. Lion banners poured, armored Lannister outriders, led by Ser Jaime, red cloak streaming. They thundered into square like wildfire. Arya's stomach clenched. Jaime reigned, surveying carnage with sardonic tilt. His eyes found Joffrey, softened, then spotted Renly lunging at Barristan. With swift decision, he spurred horse, interposing. Their blades met silver on green. Stand down, Renly, Jaime barked. No victory here, Renly snarled. Traitor's blood speaks. All blood looks same on cobblestones, Jaime retorted. And you'll lose plenty before Stannis arrives. Arn of sudden hush. Gold cloaks hesitated. Small folk ducked behind overturned carts. Jaime's arrival tipped balance precarious. Ned seized moment, voice ringing. Knights of Realm, Sheath swords. Prince Joffrey stands unarmed, crown relinquished. Let rightful king decide grievances at council, not street. Some lowered weapons, others glared. Jaime's blade still met Renly's. He smirked. Brother, choose, parley or perish. Renly's jaw ticked. At last he backstepped, blade lowering. Jaime echoed, mirroring. Stannis' four riders entered square. Disciplined column under Lord Davos Seaworth. They halted, spears high. Davos dismounted, approached dais. By Lord Stannis' command, he called, cease hostilities. City shall be held until negotiation within Red Keep. Tension leaked like punctured wineskin. Gold cloaks parted, allowing Davos onto platform. He bowed to Neroy? No, to Joffrey. Your lordship. His grace honors your act. He turned to Ned. Lord Hand, my lord requests your presence at once.
Ned nodded.
Blood dripped from Ice's shorter sister blade. He wiped it on fallen cloak. Jaime assisted Barristan to feet, murmuring, Old lion still roars. Barristan chuckled despite bruises. Renly stalked off toward Stormlander contingent, cloak torn. Arya exhaled shakily. Sansa clung to her, pale but unhurt. Nymeria licked blood from muzzle. Joffrey knelt by fallen assassin Nymeria slew, eyes wide. Is he dead? Arya said. She trembled, but voice held. He chose daggers. We chose truth. Joffrey glanced around at smoking stalls, wounded strewn. This is truth's cost. Sometimes, she answered, still worth paying. He met her gaze. Fear, sorrow, determination mingling. Stay, help me rebuild. She squeezed his hand. I will. Davos cleared throat softly. Time is thin. Lord Stannis waits.
Ned touched daughter's shoulders.
You come with me, he told Arya. Sansa to Maegor's Keep with Ser Roderick.
No, Sansa burst.
I'll not be parted again. Tears streaked grime on her cheeks. I can help. He hesitated. Blood spattered her silken sleeve. Still she stood firm. At last he nodded. Very well. Stark pack moves together. Davos led them through city now eerily quiet, broken carts smoldering, ravens pecking stray grain. Prisoners groaned in knots of rope, but battles ceased. Overhead, sky split as sun-pierced clouds, casting shafts of gold that caught drifting ash like snow. Inside Red Keep's throne room, Iron Throne loomed cruel vast. Stannis Baratheon waited before it, clad in plate dark as ironwood, fiery heart sigil ablaze at breast. His jaw, shaved for battle, clenched like vice. So, he said as Ned approached, flanked by daughters Joffrey, Jaime, Davos. The boy confesses. Realm owes him debt. He studied Joffrey, hard gaze but not cruel. Rise, Joffrey Waters, until I grant higher name. Your honesty spares many lives. Joffrey rose, face steady. I ask clemency for my family. Your mother conspired treason, Stannis intoned. She must answer. She shall, Ned interjected. But weigh guilt on her, not on children. Stannis' stern eyes softened a hair. So you ask mercy. I ask justice, Ned corrected. Mercy is justice tempered with wisdom. Stannis inclined head. Perhaps. We will deliberate. He swept room. Ser Jaime, you laid sword against Renly. Will you swear fealty? Jaime's grin glinted. I'll swear I prefer life to death. Stannis' mouth twitched. Davos hid a smile. Court proceedings began, but Arya's mind drifted to square outside, to blood-darkening boards where she fought. 5 hours of narrative hardly covered first dawn of war. Countless days awaited. As Stannis' voice rumbled judgments, Arya slid silver direwolf brooch from cloak, fingered gemstone eyes. They reflected throne's hard lines, but within them she saw a road unwritten. One where a wolf and a lion walked side by side, forging realm anew. Outside windows, rain ceased entirely. Sunlight speared river, gilding Blackwater's ripples like countless coins tossed in hope. Somewhere far off, a blacksmith's hammer resumed steady rhythm, patient, inexorable. The sound of steel reshaping destiny blow by measured blow. The torch gutters in the draft, sputtering pale flame across stone ribs of the throne room vault. Night thickens like ink in a well, but still the council drones on beneath the Iron Throne's jagged shadow. Crackling rushlights reflect off every twisted blade that once belonged to broken foes, knifing slivers of orange across polished armor and anxious faces. Arya hunches on the edge of a carven bench beside Sansa, fists curled in her lap, half listening to the thrum of argument that stretches into the small hours. Stannis Baratheon stands unmoving near the dais, broad shoulders locked, jaw a slab of granite. Ned Stark flanks him, voice measured and low, while Davos Seaworth reads freshly inked writs confirming safe conduct for Joffrey and his siblings. Each time Davos's rasping tenor falters over a legal phrase, Pycelle totters forward to supply the proper wording, parchment trembling in his age-spotted hands. Varys drifts at the room's periphery, quiet as a robed moon, watching men's lips move more than he hears their words. Sandor Clegane leans against a pillar, arms folded, helm tucked beneath one elbow, burnt cheek catching the firelight like scorched copper. Barristan Selmy, stripped of white cloak by Stannis's decree until loyalty is clarified, waits with sword belt unbuckled yet still around his waist, refusing to lay steel aside entirely. And in the center of it all, between the Stag of Dragonstone and the Wolf of Winterfell, stands Joffrey Waters, newly named but not yet accepted, golden hair dulled by soot and sweat from the day's turmoil. He keeps his chin up, yet his shoulders sag, as though a weight greater than iron crowns presses on the narrow span of his back. Argument loops and knots. When to announce Robert's bastards legitimized, how to pacify Lannister forces camped at the Gold Road, which Septon may preside over coronation without risking riot. Renly's claim hovers like a blade above every sentence. Lord Renly withdrew to his own chambers hours ago, but left the taste of civil fracture in his wake. Littlefinger has vanished entirely, though Davos's sailors swear they sighted a Myrish skiff pushing off downriver after sunset, lantern dark. Sansa's hand slips into Arya's. The older sister's fingers tremble, nails bitten raw. Arya squeezes until knuckles align, grounding both of them. They exchange no words. None are needed. Each breath shared tonight may be the last before armies trample cobbled streets and small folk burn. At last Ned signals. Enough parchment. His voice carries despite its calm. Daylight creeps over the narrow sea. Rest is a sharper tool than quill or sword when dawn brings new battle. Stannis hesitates, then nods once. The hall exhales collective relief. Guards escort Pycelle toward his tower. Varys bows out with soft thanks for the night's enlightening candor. Davos collects the sealed writs, slipping them into a leather satchel that dangles heavy against his hip. Sandor stalks toward the great doors, pausing only to grunt at the Stark sisters to follow. Barristan lingers a moment near Joffrey, laying a firm hand on the boy's shoulder before departing through a smaller side exit. No cloak, but dignity unbroken. Ned turns to his daughters. Ser Roderick waits outside Lady Helena's apartments. He'll see you safely to your rooms. Sansa nods obediently, but Arya shakes her head. Father, I promised Joffrey I would practice dawn stances. Syrio says the morning blade is sharpest. Ned's eyes flick up at Joffrey, reading the exhaustion in the prince's. No, the boy's face. Stances can wait. The Lord of Winterfell decides. Sleep sharpens more. Before Arya can protest, Joffrey speaks, voice hoarse. She should go. I'll not sleep yet. Moving steel clears clouds. He offers a wan smile that holds more gratitude than bravado. Ned studies the pair, sees the current binding them stronger each hour. At last he nods once. Practice in the Maiden Vault gallery. Windows there overlook the yard. You'll be seen. He peers at Sandor. You will guard them? The hound grun. Yes, I guard the whelp because he asks, not because some Northman commands. Ned accepts the answer with a curt dip of chin. He steers Sansa away, cloak swirling. Only after her retreating footfalls fade does Arya release the breath tied in her chest. She and Joffrey walk silent corridors where wall hangings stir in unseen breezes, followed by Sandor's slow tread and Nymeria's softer padding. The torches gutter out as they pass. Candles gutter anew. Eventually they reach the long gallery, all arched windows and milky dawnlight beginning to pool like water on marble floor. Outside, gulls will above Blackwater Bay, shrieking at fishing boats that creep from mist. Arya draws needle. Joffrey slips out a blunted tourney blade he borrowed early in the night. No steel edges yet by Ned's decree, but the heft steadies his hands. Feet apart, Arya reminds, dropping into water dancer's beginning stance. Blade like leaf on breeze. Remember to breathe from belly. He copies, wobbling slightly. They move first in slow arcs, breathing in tandem, slides and taps of blades echoing faintly. Sandor watches from an alcove, arms folded, expression unreadable. Nymeria sits poised, tail flicking each time Joffrey's footwork stumbles. Minutes blur, windows blush pink, then gold. Arya increases tempo, calling steps. Left, pivot, low sweep, good. Rise, parry sunward. Sweat beads on Joffrey's brow. He smiles despite the sting in lungs. On final exchange, Arya darts beneath his guard, taps his ribs. He gasps, more surprise than pain, then laughs outright, clear and high, a sound rarely nested in these grim halls. Arya laughs too, blade lowering. That felt freeing, he pants. Your shoulders are still stiff, she admits, wiping sleeve across forehead. Loosen hips. Syrio says joints are keys. If locked, you can't turn door of victory. I'll try, he promises. Sandor straightens, about to speak, when hurried bootsteps thunder up the gallery. Lord Renly appears, cloak hastily fastened, hair yet uncombed, but eyes alive with urgent light. Arya Stark, he calls, and my nephew or cousin, however we style you now. His grin is brittle. Lord Renly, Arya greets, sheathing needle. Joffrey mirrors her courtesy. You rise early, uncle. I rise when opportunity knocks. Renly strides closer, lowering voice. I have an offer. Stannis trots justice like a hobby horse, but he will clamp this city like an iron helm, stifling every breath of merriment. The realm will choke on his righteousness. You, both of you, could help avert that. Joffrey tenses. Speak plain. Renly flicks glance at Sandor, at Nymeria. Plain, marry Arya. The North gains tie to Baratheon blood, no matter bastardy. I gain claim through alliance with Stark and your still powerful lion kin. Together we outnumber Stannis and old lion Tywin both. The realm keeps peace. You keep life and comfort. Arya gains queenship one day, perhaps. If not queen, then Lady of Storm's End, richest seat in the south. Heat flashes in Arya's cheeks, a flare of anger and something else she can't name. You would barter me like a horse. Renly shrugs smooth shoulders. Such is noble tool. Better a lively stallion than a carcass under Stannis's axe. Joffrey steps between Renly and Arya. I will not barter her, and she is no tool. Renly's smile thins. Romantic notions, but I thought you weary of righteousness. Think before you refuse. Tywin Lannister rides from Casterly Rock as we speak. He will not honor Stannis's judgments. When his columns reach the Blackwater, Gate Lords must choose. Stannis's law or Lannister gold, or my green peace. Sandor shifts hand near pommel. Speak plainer still, you want the crown. Renly's eyes spark. I want a realm that doesn't march to dour drums and witchfire. The Tyrells back me. Half the Reach, much of the Stormlands, many river lords. They follow banners promising life, not penance. He turns to Arya. Your father's honor will drag him into Stannis's stern yoke. You can save him. Persuade Ned to switch allegiance. Join me in Highgarden for betrothal feast within a fortnight. Tyrell will shower you in roses, and winter's cold bite will never reach your children. Arya mouths a silent breath. Joffrey's hand finds hers. Sandor growls low. Renly waits, seeing refusal but hoping still. When no answer comes, he sighs. Consider. I ride to Bitterbridge at midday. If you choose joy, bring Stark banners south. He bows, an elegant sweep that nevertheless cuts like sarcasm, then strides away, boots echoing emptily. After his footfalls fade, silence floods the corridor. Dawn's full gold now spills across their faces, painting everything too bright. Joffrey turns to Arya. I will not let any man decide your fate. She squares shoulders. Nor will I let them decide yours alone. They stand thus, promise unsaid yet iron-bound, until Sandor clears throat. Choices wait for no crowing sun. We best get you fed. The kitchens awaken with banging pots and bursts of steam. Cooks swirl about like flour dust. Joffrey and Arya snag trenchers of honeyed oats, mugs of watered cider. They eat standing over wooden prep tables, steam fogging their faces. Sandor wolfs half a loaf, heedless of crumbs. As they chew, couriers rush in bearing sealed missives. One finds Sandor. The hound grunts as he breaks black wax stamped with roaring lion. I scan, then narrow. Lord Tywin crosses Tumblestone. 10,000 knights by dawn tomorrow. He demands audience with King's Council or he storms city. Joffrey swallows too quickly, coughs. He comes for my siblings. And his daughter, Arya adds quietly. Sandor crumples parchment. Stannis will bar the gates. That'll mean siege. Arya remembers old Nan's stories of Maegor's siege. Bodies catapulted, plague inside walls. Her stomach rolls. They hurry to the Tower of the Hand where Ned already dresses in riding leathers. Maester Luwin, arrived that very morning by raven-carried demand, helping fasten pauldrons. Ned listens to Sandor's news. His jaw sets. We must parley before Tywin encamps. Joffrey, you'll remain under Stark guard. He glances at Arya. You too. I ride with you, she insists. He almost refuses, then sees steel in her gray eyes. Very well, but close to me. Sansa enters, pale but resolute, braiding copper hair tight. I will watch over Tommen and Myrcella while you go. They need a friend.
Ned nods, pride flickering.
Your mother would smile. Within an hour, a party of 20 rides from the King's Gate. Ned at front, Arya beside, Nymeria trotting, Joffrey and Sandor behind. Ser Barristan, reinstated by morning's compromise, flanks with 5 newly sworn Dragonstone knights. Davos and 2 smuggler veterans bring up rear. Clouds scud overhead. Wind carries promise of salt and thunder. They reach the fields west of the city where banners ripple. Crimson Lion, Silver Fish of Tully among rivermen sworn to Riverrun yet pressed by debt. Blue Falcon of Arryn detachments ironically marching with those who once fostered Ned. At their center, a crimson pavilion stands, ornate as war can muster. A line of Lannister knights blocks approach. But Jaime emerges, helm under arm, golden hair glinting. He rides alone to meet Ned halfway across muddy stretch. Lord Stark, he calls, reins drawing foam-flecked stallion. My father invites you within. Parley's best done beneath canvas than arrow shot. Ned turns to Arya. You stay. She tightens grip on saddle. But, stay, he repeats, tone gentle yet final. Joffrey dismounts. I go with you. My word weighs. Jaime's gaze lingers on the boy, softening. Father may wish it. Sandor and Barristan accompany them to pavilion, leaving Arya, Nymeria, Davos, and a handful of guards in tense vigil. Wind whips grasses. Drums sound within Tywin's host, slow steady cadence as columns finalize positions. Siege engines clank. The smell of oiled timber drifts. Minutes stretch. Arya paces, heart thudding, mind racing through water dancer forms that calm breath. Nymeria shadows her steps. Suddenly, a horn brays from East Road. She whirls. Green and gold banners crest a rise, the rose of Highgarden beneath broad sun. Renly rides ahead, helm wreathed in gilded thorns, Mace Tyrell beside, banners streaming behind thousands of Reach Lancers. They halt beyond bowshot, but their mere presence shifts field's gravity. 3 armies now draw lines, each wary of first blood. Renly spurs toward Arya's smaller retinue. Davos steps forward, hand on hilt. Sandor motions crossbowman to ready but not notch. Renly reins in, eyes sparkling. Ripe fruit falls into whichever basket stands open. Lady Arya. Choose. He sweeps arm. Tyrell's array like blooming orchard. Lannisters like ironwood forest. Dragonstone's knights behind city walls. We can avoid butchery if hearts bend. Arya lifts chin. My father bends to no bribe, nor will I. Renly sighs theatrical. Then watch harvest rot. He wheels horse away, galloping back, issuing signals. From Tywin's pavilion flap, Ned emerges with Joffrey at side. Tywin towering behind, cloaked in crimson. Their faces give away nothing across distance, but Arya sees tension in Ned's shoulders. Horns bleed again. Tywin's household knights mount. Sandor returns, voice low. Parley failed. Tywin demands children and Cersei. Stannis refuses. Tywin sets camp to cut supply roads by dusk. Dread coils cold inside Arya. And Renly? Undecided. Sandor mutters. Too many vines to count. The small party rides back through city gates before noon. Inside, market stalls shudder, folks hide valuables. Butchers salt meat at frantic pace as rumors of siege swell.
Cette belle pile priée.
In council chamber, Stannis broods over hastily sketched defense plans. Wildfire caches along city walls. Chain across river mouth, conceived by Tyrion, though he has yet to flee Lannisport under father's orders. Ration records for grain bins. Ned argues for immediate diplomacy with riverlords to cut Lannister supply. Davos proposes night assault on Lion encampment to burn siege towers early. Amid the swirl of urgency, Arya discreetly slips out with Sansa to check on Tommen and Myrcella, the younger Baratheon or Lannister. Children rest in a small Godswood courtyard, guarded by Stark men and a single Kingsguard newly sworn to Stannis but loyal in heart to innocence more than crown. Myrcella plates flowers into Nymeria's fur. Tommen rolls wooden horse between boots, face smudged. They look up as Arya kneels. I heard horns, Myrcella whispers. Is there war? Not yet, Arya lies. Many banners march for peace. Tommen's lip quivers. Will father come back? Arya's chest twists. Fathers always watch, Tommen, even if we can't see them. Night falls thick and moonless. Arya returns to needle drills on rooftop courtyard with Syrio, who arrived that evening from Braavos after receiving Ned's urgent summons before the uproar. Every movement slices the dark like quill across parchment. Each breath writes a new chance to live tomorrow. Below, city murmurs. Hooves clatter, smithies hammer daggers for small folk volunteers. Whispered gossip flits through tavern eaves. Joffrey Waters leads nightly prayers at September of Baelor for those frightened. Some say he is saint, others puppet of northern witchchild. On Dragonstone flagship anchored in bay, Melisandre of Asshai arrives bearing visions of flaming kings, though Stannis keeps her below deck for now, wary of public disbelief. 3 days pass. Tywin's lines encircle landward walls. Renly's reach host camps south, sending envoys daily to both sides but pledging to strike neither. Yet, inside, rationing begins. Flea bottom riots once before Goldcloaks quell with spears. Arya and Joffrey patrol warrens distributing bread from royal stores. Joffrey's soft hands blister beneath grain sacks, yet he does not cease. Small folks stare at him with wonder, some spitting, some weeping, uncertain whether to bless or curse. On fourth night, a raven from Riverrun arrives. Robb Stark marches south with Great Jon and Riverlords, outraged by Lannister siege and rumors of Ned held hostage. Untrue, but ravens twist. He demands passage through twins, will treat with Stannis if father harmed. Ned reads letter aloud to Arya and Joffrey in hand solar. Tears glint in his stern eyes. I've pulled my son into this whirlpool. Arya touches his arm. Honor pulled him, not you. Joffrey sets jaw. If Robb breaches Tywin's rear, war ends swiftly. And bloodily, Ned warns. Thunder rolls across pre-dawn sky on sixth day. Summer storm breaks siege torches and lightning jaggedly silhouettes siege towers. Rain turns no man's land to sucking mire. On city walls, Stannis' archers crouch under oilskin cloaks, bowstrings dry inside tunics. In camps, Lannister captains curse drowned embers. Amid chaos of storm, Cersei escapes. Dressed in squire's mail, she slips through postern near Kingswood Gate with 6 Sellsword companions. By time alarm rises, they gallop beyond torches. Sandor snarls when news reaches Stark quarters. Joffrey's face drains white. Ned mounts search, but slick mud offers few tracks. Stannis seethes, orders doubling of patrols, threatens to hang every gate guard. Morning reveals note left on Joffrey's pillow. Ink smudged by tears. My sweetest boy, come to Lord Harroway's town before new moon. I shall keep you safe from wolves and stags alike. Mother, enclosed, half of a broken lion pendant. Ned suspects Cersei aims to reach Pike where Lannister gold subverts Ironborn for passage to Casterly Rock. Stannis wants to ignore, focus on siege. Joffrey insists on pursuit. Arya backs him. Council debates until voices fray. Finally, Ned volunteers a covert party. Himself, Arya, he cannot dissuade her. Joffrey, Sandor, Syrio, and a dozen shipped-in mountain scouts loyal to Starks. They will slip through postern at dusk disguised as merchants, ride fast up King's Road to intercept. Stannis consents grudgingly on condition Davos command walls in Ned's stead. He gifts Ned a sealed charter granting right to negotiate prisoner exchange under King's warrant. As sun dips behind black clouds, party departs, cloaked in dust and rain. Arya's heart gallops. She rides a stocky chestnut. Joffrey mounts lean gray. Sandor drives supply cart to mask weapons. Syrio scouts ahead, shadow among trees. Night thickens. Owls hoot. Behind them city lights fade. Ahead, lightning glimpses twisted pines like fingers clawing sky. They push through dawn and following day, pausing only for water. On second sunset, they reach Lord Harroway's town. Once thriving port, now fallen to rotting docks after river shifted course. Fog crawls alleys, shutters bar. A single in lantern flickers sullen red. They tether horses behind abandoned granary. Syrio slips into gloom, returns whispering. Red sash men in upper loft. Golden lion brooch glimpsed. Sondor spitz. Bloody brave companions. He unslings greatsword. Ned maps approach. 2 scouts flank stables. Syrio climbs loft rafters. Joffrey enters through front as bait with Arya disguised as page. Sandor breaching rear. Heart thudding. Arya adjusts hood. Tucks needle in sleeve. Joffrey presses broken pendant half into her palm. If we die, he murmurs. No, you freed me. Neither dies, she snaps. They enter. In common room reeking of sour ale, straw-strewn floor, slack-jawed drunk slumped at hearth. At far table, mercenaries lounge, leather-studded with tarnished spikes. Cersei sits upright among them, hair hidden beneath hood yet unmistakable in profile. Wine cup trembles in her grip. Joffrey strides forward, hood thrown back, voice ringing. Mother! Mercenaries jolt upright, blades drawn in heartbeat. Cersei gasps, half rising, torn between joy and alarm. Arya slips sideways, edging behind support pillar while rooms focus locks on Prince. From loft above, Syrio perches beam, blade ready. Door bursts as Sandor barrels in, cleaving first Sellsword's arm. Chaos erupts. Arya lunges, needle finding gap in brigand's cuirass. He collapses choking. She pivots, parries another who swings mace. Her small blade snaps leather strap, helmet slips, giving Sandor opening to hew skull. Ned fights near hearth, dusk steel flashing. Joffrey knocks aside dagger thrust, though unarmed beyond dirk. Cersei screams for cease, but Sellsword's not paid for mercy. Syrio drops from beam, elegantly skewering crossbowmen. Within breaths, only 2 remain. All others dead or fleeing through smashed shutters. They surrender. Silence save drip of blood and Cersei's sobs. She rushes to Joffrey, cradles his face, murmuring spin of apologies. He withstands a moment, then gently pries her hands away. Enough, he whispers. Come home and answer. She shakes head wildly. Home? To chains? Your grandfather will save us. Your father rides to war for pride, Ned interjects, blade lowered. But he may yet spare lives if head not lost. Cersei rounds on him. Spare? Tywin spares nothing. No one ever spares me. She laughs, brittle. Take me then. Parade lioness before wolves and stags. See how realm applauds.
Ned signals scouts.
They bind Cersei's wrists loosely, treat cuts. Mounted again at dusk, party rides south swift. On return journey, Arya drifts between weariness and resolve. Each campfire she and Joffrey speak softly of future. He dreams of founding a school for swordplay open to lowborn. She muses of chartering ship to explore summer isles. They share laughter under star-studded vault, momentary escape from thunder of armies. 3 leagues north of capital, scouts spot Lannister outriders searching farmland. Ned decides to veer east through Bromley Wood, but advance is slower among gnarled roots. At dawn, Horn calls Echo, pursuit. Sandor drives cart faster along muddy track. Arrows hiss from Treeline. Syrio and scouts form rear guard, but numbers swell. Tywin released cavalry to retrieve his daughter. Ned orders Joffrey and Arya to ride ahead with Cersei in cart, guarded by Sandor and 2 swift scouts. He, Syrio, and remainder will delay pursuit. Arya protests, but Ned's tone permits no debate. Ride. Deliver prisoners.
Honor demands.
She presses father's hand, eyes burning. The small group races, hooves drumming hollow on wooden bridge spanning Dairy Creek. Behind, distant clang of steel and shouts fade as forest bends. Midday sun beats down when walls of King's Landing loom. At Mudgate, Dragonstone guards gape at sight. Prince leading lioness bound. Rumor bursts like wildfire ahead of them. Inside Red Keep, Stannis meets them at Courtyard Fountain. His lips tighten at arrow-nicked cart, blood-spattered cloaks, but he nods grim approval. Cersei is escorted below on his order, though Joffrey begs leniency. Stannis promises trial by daylight after Tywin consulted, yet his eyes flicker with something close to pity. Hours pass without sign of Ned. As purple dusk settles, riderless horses stagger in through Lion Gate. Ned's stallion among them, flank gashed. Arya's heart plunges into frozen lake. She sprints to stables, finds the horse trembling. Blood but no rider. Panic claws. Barristan dispatches patrols to woods. Joffrey insists on riding with search despite Sandor's protest. Arya rides too. Moon hangs like broken coin when they discover survivors near burnt farmstead. Syrio kneeling, arm wrapped in torn cloak. 3 scouts dead. No sign of Ned. Syrio's voice cracks as he speaks. Lannister cavalry swarmed. Ned fought to cover retreat, struck by bolt, taken captive toward Tywin's camp. Arya's scream pierces quiet night, startling grazing sheep. Joffrey catches her before she falls. On her cheek tears, burn cold as winter steel. Back within city, word spreads faster than plague. Lord Stark captured. Tywin demands exchange. His daughter and former prince for Ned and safe withdrawal. Stannis convenes midnight council. Opinions split. Some urge trade, keep hands still alive, avoid dual siege. Others argue no negotiation with Lion while crown insecure. Arya stands before assemblage, voice raw but unwavering. You will not abandon my father. I'll ride alone to Tywin if need. Stannis studies her, candlelight dancing in stern eyes. Your courage is wildfire. Uncontrolled, it consumes all. She meets gaze. Then give it purpose. Dawn bleeds red across horizon. Sailors whisper it is the sky praying. Trumpets announce Robb Stark's northern host only 2 days' ride, having forced twins without oath but with silver. Renly remains camped south, courting Tyrell favor. 3 armies plus Tywin's ring city like knots in a noose. In this crucible, Stannis makes choice. He drafts pact. Cersei exchanged for Ned. Joffrey remains ward to Stannis until realm at peace. Tywin withdraws 10 leagues west. Court convenes in Riverrun to negotiate final borders. The letter sealed with fiery heart crosses lines by white flag envoy. Tywin replies before noon. Accepts, on condition that Arya accompanies exchange as guarantee of Ned's compliance, hostaged until final treaty. Council erupts. Sansa pleads. Joffrey threatens self-harm. Sandor snarls at stone floor. Arya steps forward. I will go. Ned's words echo in her head. Pack survives together. To save Pack, one wolf may tread dark wood. Joffrey grasps her wrist. I will ride too. Stannis bangs gauntlet fist. Enough hostages. The realm will see exchange as sign of reason, not weakness. Arya accompanies. Joffrey remains. Barristan volunteers escort. Sandor insists. Davos provides smuggler route by river skiff under dark to avoid Renly lines. At twilight, Arya embraces Sansa, whispers strength, hugs Tommen, who weeps, kisses Nymeria's head, orders stay. She turns to Joffrey last. He presses lion pendant half into her palm, completing whole she carries. Find your way back, he begs. Keys are in joints, she whispers, referencing earlier lesson, managing faint smile. Doors yet open. They depart in drizzle, cloaks drawn. Barristan rows skiff while Sandor watches banks. Arya crouches amid barrels, heart pounding. River carries them through mist-veiled night. Lanterns bob ahead, Lannister pickets. White flag hoisted. They glide to shore where envoy Ser Kevin waits with steel-helmed guard. Cersei dismounts from palfrey, face streaked with dried tears. Arya and she exchange look. Not hate, something older. Two daughters bound by Father's wars. Ned steps from pine wagon, chained yet unbroken. Eyes meet Arya's, relief flooding. She grips pendant halves. Trade is swift. Ned embraces Arya fiercely before guards pull him towards skiff. Cersei mounts wagon. Kevin signals retreat. They vanish into trees. Skiff launches south. Arya remains on muddy bank, flanked by crimson cloaks. Moon slips behind cloud, leaving only sound of water lapping shore and muffled thunder of distant armies circling same doomed city. She tucks pendant into tunic, two halves, now whole against her heartbeat. Promise forged of lion and wolf, awaiting dawn when grown men's swords may finally hush long enough for children's voices to decide fate of kingdoms. A chill wind slid off the Derry Creek as the Lannister escort rode west, pushing through tattered dawn mist like spears through silk. Arya Stark sat astride a rangy courser at the column's center, wrists bound only by a length of crimson cord looped to her saddlehorn, less a prison than a statement. Ser Kevin Lannister kept pace beside her, lean face unreadable beneath the hood of his mail-lined cloak. Ahead, the bright crimson banners of Casterly Rock snapped, a parade of roaring lions blazing against a sky turning bruised violet and gold. They did not tie needle. The slim sword rested in its sheath, a silent promise against her thigh. Tywin Lannister had insisted on courtesy. The North's cub must arrive unbroken if we expect the wolf to obey. But everyone in the convoy understood dagger-sharp truths. Arya was host age, barter for Ned Stark's compliance in whatever punishment the Lion Lord chose to impose upon Stannis Baratheon's upstart reign. 4 and 20 riders formed the escort. Half a dozen seasoned Knights of the Rock, 9 Sellsword outriders in patched leather, 5 crossbowmen crouched on a supply cart, 2 squires, 1 maester with white ravens tattooed on his wrist, and Sandor Clegane, grim and silent at rear, a hulking shadow Tywin accepted because he trusted the Hound's hatred of all things knightly more than any oath. By dawn's first hour, the road had swallowed the capital's distant roar, leaving only the squeal of harness leather, the occasional jangle of bits, and Arya's own heartbeat thrumming inside her ears. She closed her eyes a moment, felt wind tug at loose dark strands beneath hood, smelled damp hay in the cart behind, tar pitch on shield buckles, sour tang of boiled onions from the cook's pack. Her thoughts flicked back to the skiff. The moment Father's arms crushed her like winter bear fur, his whisper, "Hold fast, little horse. I will ride the wind to find you." And Joffrey's voice, shaking despite practiced calm, "Keys are in joints, doors yet open." She pressed the 2 joined halves of the lion pendant, now hanging from a leather thong about her neck, against her chest plate, drawing quiet strength. Ser Kevin broke the hush. "You ride with grace, lady. Many full-grown knights sit poorer seat. Arya kept gaze forward. Winterfell's yard teaches balance early. Yet not all northern ladies wield such a blade. His pale brows lifted toward Needle. She shrugged. My brother taught me one stance. A Bravosi master taught me the rest. He hummed. Whether approval, surprise, or amusement, she could not tell. Any teacher of the free cities is sharp. Do you fear crossing blades with lions? Lions bleed. She felt bold answering, but his mouth merely twitched. The sun climbed, and the column passed through rolling farmland dotted with half-harvested barley. Refugees trudged opposite direction toward King's Landing, burdened with bundles. Some paused to gape at the escort. A few spat as the Lannister banners swept by. One ragged woman thrust a fist skyward, shouting, "Traitors breed traitors." A crossbowman lifted his weapon, but Kevin barked, "Stand down." The escort rolled on. By midday, they reached a low ridge above the Blackwater tributary. Their Ser Adam Marbrand waited with 50 cavalry, red cloak flashing. He saluted Kevin. Lord Tywin makes camp 3 leagues farther, on the ridge by the Weeping Willows. News followed. Robb Stark's host skirted the Tumblestone and was rumored to have seized the gold mines at Nuns Deep. Crippling Casterly coin flow north of the Trident. Renly's Reachmen still lingered near Bitterbridge, feasting on Tyrell bread and playing at tourney while envoys fluttered like sparrows between camps, seeking whichever way the war wind blew. And Stannis held King's Landing with iron discipline. Wildfire caches lining walls as rumored chains lingered beneath Blackwater's murk, ready to snap shut like a kraken's jaw if any fleet dared the river. Arya listened, face blank. That evening, Lord Tywin's pavilion loomed huge in a meadow ringed by torchlit wagons. The escort wound past rows of cookfires, smith tents where sparks hissed into dusk, and a row of wagons stacked with greenish casks. A scent of pine pitch and lamp oil suggested siege fuel. Soldiers craned necks to glimpse the Stark girl. Whispers fluttered, "Ice Wolf, Stark Cub, hostage of honor." She kept shoulders squared. Inside the pavilion, braziers bathed scarlet silk walls in restless light. Tywin Lannister stood at a war table plotting wedge symbols along hand-inked parchment. His gold armor lay on a bench. He wore simple crimson tunic yet still looked every inch an anvil of the realm. Broad, severe, eyes sharp amber above a shaved jaw. Cersei sat on a cushioned stool beside him, wrists now free, though purple bruises ringed one. Her fingers toyed with an empty wine cup. She glanced up as Arya entered, expression unreadable. Some alchemy of triumph, sorrow, and fear. Tywin's gaze swept Arya head to boots. "You are well." She stiffened. "I ride better than your men." A faint lift at one corner of his mouth might have signaled rare amusement. He nodded to Kevin. "Feed the escort. Have stablemaster rub the horses. Then attend me." Kevin bowed, withdrew. Tywin gestured toward a cushioned camp chair before the brazier. "Sit, Lady Arya." She remained standing. "Starks prefer our legs beneath us." "As you wish." He turned a page on the map. "You understand why you are here. To trade me back when my father obeys. The stag on the Iron Throne will learn there is a cost to seizing crowns without the realm's blessing," Tywin said. "Your father is honorable, but the North cannot stand alone. He must advise Stannis to step aside for a monarch the lords can stomach." "He will not counsel surrender," she said. "He will if your life dangles." Tywin's voice never rose. "Family duty honor." Tully words, yes, but Stark's ice runs similar veins. Anger flared, but she swallowed it. "My father's honor is stronger than chains." "Perhaps," Tywin allowed, "but I intend to bind him with iron of necessity, not steel of fear." He closed the map, fixing her with lion's gaze. "Tell me of Stannis's dispositions." "Granaries, wall strengths, numbers of ships." Arya blinked. "You mistake me for a spy." "I mistake nothing. Children hear things." He waited. When she gave no answer, he nodded once, unsurprised. "Silence is loyalty." "Good." He motioned to a guard. "Escort Lady Arya to her tent. Feed her." Cersei spoke for first time. "Father, may I?" Tywin's head turned a fraction. His daughter fell silent. She glanced again at Arya, eyes green fires banked by sleepless nights, then lowered gaze. The guard led Arya outside to a smaller pavilion with wolf sigil crudely stitched onto borrowed Lannister crimson. Inside, a straw-filled mattress, a brazier, a small chest with water pitcher. The guard left lamp and basin, withdrew. Alone, Arya knelt by bedroll, tugged pendant halves from under tunic. She pried them apart, inspecting where a broken pin had once joined. Uneven edges formed a jagged line, imperfection marking new unity. She set them on cot, stared until shapes blurred, memory slipping back to Winterfell's crypts, where stone kings knelt among iron swords. She remembered Mother's scent of her hands after mending stitches, Jon's secret smiles when gifting needle, Bran's laughter chasing her across rooftops. Tears stung. She angrily wiped. From outside drifted clink of armor, laughter, barked orders. War rolled beyond canvas like thunder beyond hills. She lay down, dagger beneath pillow, braided hair tight, whispered to unseen winter wind. Syrio says the heart lies still while blade is dancing. She let breath slow, imagining water rippling under moon. Sleep came fitful, haunted by wolves running fields of red grass, by lions roaring in burning halls, by Joffrey standing on the iron throne with crown of melted swords. When dawn's first beam pierced canvas, she woke alert. A page brought stewed oats, honey, small loaf. She ate quickly. Another guard summoned her. Lord Tywin desired her presence at War Council. She followed through maze of tents to Central Pavilion. Inside, map table now clustered with commanders. Ser Kevin, Ser Adam, Lord Giles Rosby hacking cough, Maester Tomon, and, to Arya's surprise, Lord Roose Bolton of the Dreadfort, pale eyes flat as still water. Bolton inclined head at her but offered no smile. Tywin gestured her to stand opposite him. "We are discussing prisoner exchange terms." A courier had arrived at dawn. Stannis accepted meeting near the ruins of Stony September midway between camps. He would come with Lord Stark and 200 men, expecting equal numbers. Arya's safe return concurrent with Tywin's withdrawal 10 leagues east for 30 days while Grand Council convened. Tywin traced finger along map ridge lines. "We will grant safe passage only when Stannis swears before witnesses to convene Tri-Crowned Council. Baratheon, Lannister, Stark. The decision of kingship will rest on Lord's vote. Till then, hostages remain parted." Roose Bolton spoke softly. "The North will not sit still while its lady is bartered." His tone carried no warmth, only fact. Tywin's eyes flicked. "Which is why she joins our retinue to Stony September. Ned Stark will see her well." Arya splayed fingers on map. "If Stannis or my father smell deceit, they will strike. Then let none drift on the wind." Tywin met her gaze. "You will ride at my side." The day passed in preparations. Arya's wrists were freed. A new riding cloak, gray wolf stitched over red field, was draped across her shoulders. She scowled at colors but accepted. Chill morning cut bones. By late afternoon, column formed. 500 heavy horse, 100 crossbowmen wagon-borne, 3 supply carts, Tywin in gilded scale armor at head beneath crimson banner trimmed with cloth of gold. Arya rode just behind him beside Kevin. Cersei remained in camp. "To plan," Tywin said. They moved north along cracked cobblestones. Smoke pillars rose from farms sacked by foragers. Tywin's earlier orders to procure grain fairly had frayed under siege hunger. Arya saw charred wagons, rootless cabbages trampled into mud, a dead milk cow bloated by sun. The scent turned her stomach. Near dusk they encamped beside Old Stone Bridge, a crumbling arch over swift stream. Tywin's orderly quartermasters dug fire pits, set sentries. He called Arya to dine at his smaller strategy tent. There, simple fare, a trencher of beef, hard bread, strong wine. She declined wine. He sliced meat into precise cubes, eating sparingly. "Your father taught honor," he began without preamble. "But did he teach politics?" "He taught truth," Arya said. Truth kills as many as swords. Tywin sipped wine. If I yield you unharmed and ride east, Stannis gains momentary upper hand. Yet Robb Stark devours my western flank. Should Stannis win council vote, he will demand my head for treason. I must ensure the vote favors my blood. She set bread down. No one will choose you king. Kingship is costly, he agreed. And I spent my coin raising Robert. I ask only Warden of West, just recompense and safety for house. His amber eyes glinted. Thus I require your father's voice. Arya exhaled. He will not speak for those who threaten his child. Tywin's mouth curved. Exactly why you live. Fear compels. It also persuades. He folded hands. Convince him Stannis' zealotry will drown realm in fire. Persuade him that lions no longer hunt wolves. Only serpents who poison crown. She laughed once, harsh. Serpents? You bred Joffrey's cruelty. My direwolf lost her life for his whims. Lady is dead because... Tywin raised palm. My grandson's shortcomings no longer matter. The boy in King's Landing is Joffrey Waters now, a pawn for Stannis. I serve family, not bastards. He leaned closer. In truth, I admire your brother Robb's boldness, but boldness unguided becomes folly. Aid me in curbing folly, and the North keeps its kings in winter, tax-free for a generation. Offer hung like dangling corpse. Arya shook head slowly. You forget who I am. He regarded her over rim of cup. You are needle-thin steel inside wolf fur. He stood. Tomorrow, show me if it bends. That night, she could not sleep. She paced outside tent under patchy moon, listening to owls. She rehearsed water dancer steps, feet sliding silent on dewy grass. Guards watched curiously but left her be. When dawn birds chirred, she finally sat cross-legged, breathing slow. Columns set out before sun fully crested. The road misled through wooded hills where mist pooled in hollows near midday. Outriders returned. Stannis' advance party raised camp at Stony September's outskirts. White banners with fiery heart flew beside ice-white direwolf and crowned stag sigils. Arya's pulse quickened. Before meeting, Tywin's captains formed wedge defense. Archers on ridge, cavalry in reserve. A clearing with toppled stones served neutral ground. Two great pavilions faced each other across broken cobbles. Arya rode into clearing flanked by Kevan and Marbrand. Across space, she saw her father. Tall in mail and gray cloak, expression stoic yet eyes alive with relief. Beside him stood Stannis, jaw clenched, and Davos with humble nod. Arya swung down, heart thrumming. Ned advanced. For an instant all trappings of war fell away. She ran into his arms. His beard scratched her temple, arms strong, scent of leather and pine. He murmured, "Thank the gods." Tywin cleared throat. The moment shattered. Negotiations began inside neutral tent. Long trestle table, candles, two scribes. Tywin, Kevan, Roose on one side. Ned, Davos, Maester Luwin, recalled from King's Landing, on other. Stannis presiding at head. Stannis' opening words cut. Lord Tywin stands accused of treason and murder of King Robert by poison of neglect. Tywin raised eyebrow. An unproven charge. Proof rests in closed crypt. Stannis shot back. Nevertheless, realm seeks peace. He gestured to parchment. Sign your retreat and hostages exchange. Tywin leaned back. My daughter remains captive. I yield no ground until her safety ensured.
Ned spoke kom.
Cersei is held as witness, not prisoner. She will stand at council in Riverrun. Tywin's jaw tensed. My men will escort her. Stannis shook head. Kingsguard of my choosing. So writes charter. Hours dragged, bickering of escorts, radius of withdrawal, feeding of armies during truce. Who chairs council, which maesters tally votes. At dusk they reached stalemate over Renly. Stannis demanded younger brother yield claim. Tywin argued Renly's support necessary to prevent northern hegemony. Voices rose, torches hissed. Arya watched from chair near tent flap, mind drifting. She studied Roose Bolton's silent observing, eyes flicking like knives between speakers. He offered suggestions rare and subtle. Camp placements, bridging of rivers, and each time Ned considered, Stannis ignored. Something about Roos's calm unsettled her. At ninth bell, scribes flagged. Stannis adjourned for night, negotiations to resume at sunrise. Tywin's shoulders straightened. He eyed Arya. The lady will return to our camp.
Ned bristled.
We exchanged sight, not flesh. She stays with me tonight. Stannis surprised them both. She remains neutral until treaty sealed. He signaled 2 knights of the Kingsguard, Ser Balon Swan and Ser Rabar Royce, newly sworn to Dragonstone, to escort her to a separate watchtower ruin between camps, with bedroll, food, and 1 guard from each house. Symbol of good faith, he said. Tywin's gaze bored into Arya, but he nodded. Ned kissed her brow, promising quickly concluded peace. The ruin perched atop a hill overlooking both camps. A squat stone shell with arrow-slit windows and half-collapsed roof. Inside, stale hay and old bird droppings. Still, Arya felt strange freedom unchained from lines. Ser Balon and Ser Rabar set pallets and lit small brazier. Lannister guard named Ser Forley Prester remained outside with crossbow. Stark guard, Dour Helman Tallheart, took opposite post. Arya sat at the crumbling parapet, watching torches flicker in twin camps below. Red of Lions to west, Fiery Hearts and Direwolves to east. Sky spangled with stars. Balon offered her bread and cheese. She thanked him, ate slowly. Royce inspected ruin for threats, then settled near brazier polishing moonsilver helm. They avoided conversation beyond courtesy. Late night. Wind moaned through cracks, carrying distant horn calls. Arya dozed, curled in cloak. Dream. She stands on edge of Frost Lake. Joffrey stands opposite, water mirroring crimson sunset. He reaches. She steps. Ice cracks. She wakes with jerk. Voices outside muffled. She creeps to slit. Silhouettes in moonlight, 2 figures approach from Lannister side. Prester steps forward, salutes, then suddenly staggers, arrow protruding from throat. Tallheart draws sword, but a second arrow pierces breast. He collapses. Arya's pulse explodes. She whirls to Balon and Rabar, but before she speaks, stone thuds as grapples hook wall. Masked men in dark leather scale silently. Balon curses, draws sword, but bolt buries in his shoulder. He falls back. Rabar shouts traitors, swings, knocking one attacker free. Yet more clamber through broken roof. Arya yanks needle, heart hammering. She darts under Rabar's blocking arm, slashes at thigh of first intruder. He yelps, tumbles. A second swings mace. She dives, rolls, hamstringing him. Chaos. Clash of steel, hiss of arrows. Rabar fights valiantly, but numbers overwhelm. Balon, bleeding, drags himself toward door. Arya counts 8 foes, no sigils, but their leather bears twin red lines, Bolton's flayed man stylized. Betrayal. One lunges at her. She slides aside, stabs under rib. Another grabs her cloak. She twists free, slicing wrist. Yet too many. Rabar shouts, run, before Pikestaff crushes his helm. He falls. Arya backs to parapet edge. 3 men advance. Below, rocky slope drops 20 feet. She grips pendant halves, whispers, not today, then leaps. Air whistles, ground rushes. She tucks roll, hits muddy embankment, pain-jarring spine, but training guides momentum. She tumbles, strikes rock, gasps yet rises. Up tower, shouts echo. She sprints downslope toward line of sparse oaks dividing camps. Moonlight guides, but branches claw cloak. Hoofbeats behind, mounted pursuers? She veers into thicket, darts among trunks like needle through cloth. Ahead, flicker of torches, Lannister sentry post. She stops short. If Bolton's men wear Lannister colors now none can trust. She ducks into hollow log, heart pounding, waiting. 2 riders canter past on pale horses bearing no banner. Snatches of words. Bolton knife, Lord's orders, seize girl, deliver to Dreadfort men. Once they pass, Arya crawls out, mind racing. Roose Bolton opens secret door for winter vengeance. Hostile to both Lion and Stag, intending to leverage Stark Girl for his own claim to North if Robb falters. She must warn father, but Lions stand between ruin and Stark camp, and Bolton traitors prowl. She chooses path toward narrow creek-cutting valley, a secret route Syrio once drilled. Follow water, hide scent. She moves. Mud sucks boots. Reeds slash arms. She trudges half-mile until creek meets cobbled farm lane. Flicker ahead. Small cottage ruin. She slips inside, finds ragged cloak on peg, swaps bright wolf and lion cloak for dull brown, cuts glint of pendant into shift, hides beneath tunic. Dawn's gray light creeps. She approaches Stark camp outskirts, palisade of wagons and stakes. Guards challenge. She calls passphrase, snow falls on Mormont. Ned's code. They yank her inside, eyes wide at battered state. She blurts story. Bolton's betrayal, attack on ruin, knights slain. Guards rush her to Ned's command tent where he confers with Stannis, Davos, maesters. Shock flares across his face. He pulls her close, rage and relief mixing. Stannis's jaw tightens. Bolton sits in lion tent now, no doubt blaming bandits. Ned turns to officer. Rouse men loyal to Winterfell. Secure camp. Disarm Dreadfort troops quietly. No blood if yields. He meets Stannis's stern eyes. We strike before lion roars. But horns already blast across valley. Lannister alarm. Smoke rising from Tywin's supply wagons. Chaos. Bolton moved quickly. Blaming Stannis for abduction attempt, he urged Tywin to resume hostilities. Lion scouts found slain guards. Bolton's men planted fiery heart tokens on corpses.
Va Reignitis.
Stannis curses. He orders full readiness. Ned readies gray horse. Arya tugs sleeve. Let me fight. He kneels. You've done more than enough. He presses kiss to her forehead. Thrusts pendant halves into her palm. Stay with Maester Luwin. If walls fall, ride east to Riverrun. He stands, mounts. Battle erupts before sunrise. Thunder of hooves, chant of war cries, clash of steel. Arya climbs command tower, watches swirling ant lines. Red, gold, and black specks colliding over brown grass. Bolton's pale banners weave between, sometimes aiding lions, sometimes stabbing their backs, sowing confusion. She spots Sandor on Black Destrier hacking through Sellswords to reach Stark vanguard. His greatsword cleaves path. Nearby Ned leads column of northern spears, gray cloaks billowing, smashing into Bolton flank. Davos commands Riverlord archers screening Stannis's disciplined heavy foot. Bolton's treachery soon exposed. His left collapses under northern fury. Roose himself wheels pale horse, rides toward Tywin's banner, perhaps to salvage alliance. Tywin, ever pragmatic, realigns lines, leaving Roose's contingent isolated. Yet central field tilts as Renly's Reach cavalry arrive unannounced, green and gold flooding from South Crest, singing bright horns. Tyrell infantry pour behind, seizing chance to crown their favored king. Welcomed by Tywin, they smash into Stannis' flank. Baratheon lines buckle. Arya clutches parapet. She spies Joffrey on distant hill. He'd ridden overnight with a small guard to seek peace, but now stands between arrow storms, too close to Tyrell knights swinging maces. Fear spikes. Sudden flare. Green-tinted explosion near Tyrell siege wagons. Wildfire cask hit by stray torch. Flames roar skyward, engulfing supply. Horses panic, stampede through lines, scattering friend and foe. On ridge, Tywin signals retreat. Green inferno threatens. Renly counters, ordering archers retract. Confusion reigns. Ned seizes moment, drives northern spears through gap, cutting path toward Tywin himself. Sandor rides with him. Davos flanks. Field becomes maelstrom. Bolton's forces break entirely, fleeing north with flayed banners folded. Roose vanishes in smoke. Stannis rallies knights around fated Stag, pushing into Tyrell rear. Lions caught between Northern Pincer and Baratheon Hammer. But victory remains uncertain. Numbers still favor reach.
Arya S. Fist Titan son pendant.
She darts tower stairs, grabs spare helm, mounts pony at picket. Maester protests. She gallops. She rides through chaos, mind blank but for water dancer mantra. Left, right, pivot of fate. She aims for hill where Joffrey stands near Tyrell command. If he falls, hope of moderate peace dies. Arrows hiss. She ducks, urging pony. She sees Joffrey grappling with Tyrell's sergeant who tries seize him. Prince slashes dirk at man's arm, but second soldier grabs cloak. Arya leaps from saddle, rolling, darts forward. Needle flashes, pricking sergeant's hamstring. He howls, collapses. She grabs Joffrey's wrist. With me! They sprint toward rocky defile. Tyrell knights give chase. Sandor sees from melee, roars, spurs toward them, scattering pursuers. Behind, wildfire spreads, devouring dry grass. Winds shift flames toward Tywin's baggage. Roars of burning horses echo. Tywin orders full withdrawal. Renly curses, forced to follow else be engulfed. Stannis presses, driving route across creek where bridge collapses under weight, sending men into boiling green water. As sun sinks, battle ends smoldering. Lions and roses retreat west with heavy losses. Stag and wolf hold field, though their own dead litter earth. Nightfall brings uneasy quiet, crackle of cooling fires, cries of wounded. Arya and Joffrey sit by stream, breathless, smoke-stained. He grips her hand. You saved me again. You wouldn't need saving if men stopped chasing crowns. She mutters, but squeezes back. Ned finds them, bloodied but alive, relief shining. He pulls them close. Sandor looms behind, grim satisfaction. Stannis approaches, helm tucked under arm, eyes rimmed red. Victory, he states flat, but cost may drown us next tide.
Ned nods.
We must end this war now. Joffrey rises, dirt-streaked face determined. Then hold great council without delay. Let lords vote before more children die. Stannis studies boy. Even if council crowns another? Yes, Joffrey says. I will serve realm, not throne.
Arya stand beside, pendant half gleaming.
Ned lays hand on both shoulders. We will carry this light to Riverrun. Far off, horns of retreat echo then fade. Stars ignite in smoke-cleansed sky. In flicker of campfires, direwolves howl, carrying message to distant snows. A pack, though scattered, finds path through darkest wood when hearts beat as one. Ash drifted like gray snow across the ravaged meadow, settling on twisted shields and snapped spears until every shape blurred into the next, battlefield becoming vast, formless cairn. Dawn painted the haze rose gold, gentling horrors without erasing them. Crows hopped among the dead with leisurely entitlement, their black feathers glistening. They lacked the urgency of men, for carrion did not flee. Arya Stark stood on a low tumble of stones near the old sept wall, cloak tugging in cool breeze that smelled of smoke, trampled grass, and the faintly metallic sweetness of drying blood. The makeshift infirmary behind her. Canvas flies stretched between beams, murmured with saws and soft prayers, a counter-rhythm to distant hammer blows where armorers mended rent plate. Each clang echoed yesterday's chaos, but the ring carried steadiness now, a pulse of rebuilding. She rolled stiff shoulders, bruised from the desperate leap off the tower and the hours of riding that followed. When she closed her eyes, fragments returned unbidden. Bolton's men clambering over cracked stone. Rabar Royce's helm crumpling beneath a mace. Green fire racing across a wagon's tarred boards as horses screamed. Memory tugged like fishhooks in flesh. She forced lids open, breathing slow, grounding herself in present. Below, in the sept's weed-choked cloister, Sandor Clegane stalked between supply carts, barking orders at drovers shifting barrels of clean water. Sweat darkened the battered mail across his shoulders, but his stride held unbroken ferocity. He seemed carved from the same scorched timber and twisted iron that littered the field, a living relic of war's raw edge. When he noticed Arya watching, he grunted, offered terse nod, then returned to berating a groom who'd allowed a bandage roll to fall in mud. Beyond him, lines of prisoners knelt beneath Stark and Baratheon banners. Surviving Lannister and Tyrell captives, many wounded, heads bowed. Northern guards patrolled with axes resting on shoulders. Their expressions combined grim vigilance with the weary mercy that follows hard-won victory. Each prisoner would be ransomed or exchanged, Lord Stark had decreed. No butchery of helpless foes beneath direwolf flag. But coin coffers were thin, and men whispered how long such clemency could endure. A horn's mellow note drifted from the far ridge. One sustained, too short signal that the first council session would convene at the Sept's half-ruined choir within the hour. Arya's pulse quickened. Decisions forged in that circle would steer the realm's course. She intended to hear them, even if her father preferred her elsewhere. She descended the stone pile, boots sliding on ash-slick grass, and wound through triage tents. Nurses paused, offering tight smiles. Some touched fingertips to foreheads in rough salute. Word of her flight from the tower and her part in saving Joffrey had spread among ranks overnight, embellished with bardic flourish. She felt the weight of those new legends pressing like ill-fitted armor. Inside, she was still the girl who had danced on Winterfell's walls, chasing cats and dreams. At the infirmary's heart, Maester Luwin stitched a Riverlander's leg by dim lantern light. Ned Stark stood nearby, sleeves rolled, his steady hands pressing poultice. When Arya approached, her father's gray eyes lifted, tired yet bright. A faint smile softened wind-etched lines. "Morning, wolf cub," he murmured. "Morning," she answered. Council horn sounded. "Aye." He nodded a final bandage, signaled 2 aides to carry the wounded man to rest paddock. He wiped palms, turning to Arya. "I'd keep you from politics a little longer, but I doubt I could chain you," she offered half-grin. "Needle cuts cords." Ned chuckled, but concern lingered. "Stay beside me, then. Listen more than speak. Tempers ride raw." They crossed courtyard to Sept entrance. Its once ornate doors collapsed into splintered heaps after the previous day's wildfire surge. Sunlight streamed through ragged roof beams, catching motes of ash that swirled like lazy fireflies. Benches salvaged from taverns ringed a circular map table fashioned overnight. Parchment of the Crownlands laid across wine casks. Around it gathered the war's jangling fragments of leadership. Stannis Baratheon in battered breastplate bearing faint scorch marks. Davos Seaworth with parchment roll. Brynden Tully freshly arrived with detachment of Riverland archers. Meege Mormont and Great John Umber flanking Robb Stark near northern corner. A dour clutch of Night's Watch brothers representing Jon Arryn's former Vale retainers. Ser Axel Florent whispering fiery vows. And weary but unbowed, Joffrey Waters, steel blue eyes.
Alert baneat plain leata capítul.
The Tyrells and Lannisters, driven west by green flame and collapsing bridge, were absent. Yet their absence weighed heavy, a vacant chair whose shadow stretched across every word. Stannis rapped knuckles on map. "We hold field, yet victory breeds venom." Renly withdraws to Highgarden nursing grievances. Tywin limps toward the Gold Road, seeking fresh levies. Bolton's treachery festers north. His gaze swept circle. Peace or perdition, choose. Great John slapped palm on dagger hilt. March on Casterly Rock while lion licks wounds. End saga swift. Robb's voice cut softer but firmer. The north bled here and on the Green Fork. Another storm before we see hearths again? My men's boots split, their bellies thin. Davos cleared throat. War's coin grows dear. King's Landing suffers ration lines. Tyrell harvest stores could feed half realm. Yet they close gates behind Rose Banner walls. Brynden Tully leaned on Cain. Might we court the rose anew? Renly loves pageantry. Offer crown of his choosing if he abandons lion. Stannis' mouth twisted. I do not trade thrones like tourney favors. He studied Ned. Lord Stark, your counsel? Ned drew breath. I propose a conclave of banners. Every great house, sworn and free, meets beneath truce to cast votes. Not at Riverrun as before, barn-burnt and contested, but on neutral soil none may claim. He tapped map near God's eye. Harrenhal, murmurs rippled. Harrenhal's blackened towers stood as monument to hubris, yet its vast holdfast remained strategically central. Stannis frowned. Cursed. Perhaps, Ned allowed, but its walls accommodate armies. Charred stones remind proud lords of fragility. Joffrey spoke. Let the lords gather there in one moon's time. Till then, each host disbands to home shires, save token guards, to prove good faith. Mege Mormont raised skeptical brow. And who ensures Lion or Rose do not raise fresh swords while we winter in dens? Arya, shadowing father's side, felt answer bloom unbidden. She whispered, "Hostages."
Ned glanced.
"Speak up." She swallowed, then projected. Each house sends kin to Harrenhal as pledge. Heirs, spouses, favored cousins. They remain until vote concluded. Suspicion flickered across some faces, but Stannis nodded slowly. A child's notion bears steel. Bonds of blood cut deep. Robb met Arya's eyes, pride and caution mingling. "House Stark will send its heir," he declared. The room rumbled. "If I risk chains, lions must chain cubs too." Mege growled approval. Greatjon thumped table. Brynden Tully's mouth twitched wry humor. Stannis turned to maesters. "Draft terms. Quill every loophole." By noon, parchment smelled of ink and sweat. Signatures sprawled beneath wax sigils. Direwolf, Crown Stag, Trident of Tully, Bear of Mormont, Kraken of Asha Greyjoy, herself newly allied after seizing Pike from Euron in father's absence. Falcon of Aaron rung by Black Ribbon of Mourning. Absent, a field purposely blank, awaited Rose and Lion. Envoys assembled. Ser Mathis Rowan would ride to Highgarden with Scroll. Kevin Lannister, stripped of battlefield command but still envoy, sought to intercept Tywin's host before Crakehall. Galbart Glover led detachment north to track Bolton. Arya watched Kevin depart, his posture rigid yet dignified. She remembered courteous words on ride, wondered whether he could sway Tywin's pride. She sensed how each rider carried fate's hinge inside wax-sealed tube. Near dusk, fires crackled around stew cauldrons. Soldiers of disparate banners shared bread, tension eased by new promise. Arya sat with Joffrey, Sandor standing sentinel. They traded quiet memories, Winterfell snowball fights, Casterly fountains, glimpses of child life before war's sour taste. When Joffrey spoke of Queen's ballroom in Red Keep, voice wistful, Arya pictured marble floor yet heard Lannister screams, memory overlaying dream. Lightning flickered on horizon, heralding storm. She excused herself to walk deserted cloister. Rain smell teased. She found Roose Bolton's abandoned standard propped against wall. A flayed man stained by smoke. She stared at it, heart hardening. Betrayal wound deeper than any blade. Bootsteps approached. Robb, cloak sodden with sweat, hair wind-tossed. He studied sister a moment, then touched banner's blackened edge. "Our bannerman's cruelty returns to bite." His voice low. "I mean to see him pay." "He will," Arya said. "But we chase bigger prey first." He smiled soft, proud. "You changed, little sister. So did you." Wind picked up. They walked beneath broken arch, lightning illuminating scattered shards of stained glass, glimmering like dragonfly wings. Thunder rumbled. Robb halted. "Father asked if I'd truly leave host to serve as hostage." He rubbed back of neck. "If Harrenhal houses heirs, I go willingly. Else other families balk." Arya swallowed. Fear twisted. The council fell, hostages might die. Yet without risk peace would never grow. She squeezed his arm. "The pack survives. I will be there too." He frowned. "Father won't allow." "I'm already Lion ransom," she reminded. "Stannis and Tywin know my worth. Let them know my claws." Robb laughed softly, kissed her forehead, then strode off to rouse captains for night patrol. Storm broke after midnight, rain thundering on canvas roofs. Lightning strobbed, thunder boomed, fires hissed. Arya woke intent, senses taut. Shouts outside, guards exchanging hail. She slid from pallet, pulling boots. A horn blast, 3 rising notes. Stranger in camp. She snatched needle, pushed flap. Torchlight flickered over sodden courtyard where 2 horsemen, soaked and mud-spattered, sagged in saddles. Standard bearer held tattered cloth. red rose entwined with golden spear. The rider's helm removed revealed Brienne of Tarth, hair plastered to broad cheeks, blue eyes blazing. Beside her Ser Loras Tyrell, gauntlet hands trembling from cold. Stannis emerged, robe flapping. Ned arrived seconds later, sword belted. Joffrey followed, rain stream, Angie down. Brienne dismounted, voice carrying above storm. Lord Renly is dead. Silence swallowed courtyard. Rain hammered. Stannis's mouth parted. How? Assassin in green tent, Loras choked. Shadow black as midnight, took form of man, plunged blade of darkness through heart. He shook fist skyward. Witchcraft. Eyes turned to Stannis, for rumors of Red Priestess trailed him. His jaw tightened, but he shook head. I know nothing of sorcery this night. Brienne unrolled scroll sealed with Renly's signet, ink streaked by rain. Before death, Lord signed acceptance of Harrenhal Council. He named me envoy, Loras second. Shock rippled anew. Davos stepped forward. Who else witnessed? Maester Jesper, Brienne answered, voice steady. He escaped with us. Tyrell Vanguard blamed Stormland's men. Camp fractures behind. Ned closed eyes briefly, processing. At once, peace hopes tilted. Rose faction decapitated. Fury poised to bloom. Stannis turned to Davos. Send swift birds to Highgarden. Offer full seat at council. He faced Brienne. You sought refuge. You have it. Loras spat. I seek justice. Give me the sorceress. I have no sorceress present, Stannis said, though dread flickered behind eyes. Arya noted. Loras strode toward Joffrey. You, bastard of lion, once promised courtesy. Prove it. Hunt witch for me. Joffrey met his grief with calm. I vow the council will try any murderer. Loras scoffed but said no more. Storm clouds rolled, but lightning eased. Guards escorted drenched envoys to warmth. Arya's mind raced. A shadow killing Melisandre's rumored arts? She vowed to watch Red Woman's every step at Harrenhal. A week later, banners marched from Stony September in 3 great columns heading for Harrenhal. Northern and Riverland under Robb and Ned, escorting wagons of wounded. Crownlands and Stormlands under Stannis, with Joffrey as ward. Reach survivors under Brienne and Loras, trailing smaller retinue, uncertain but bound by Renly's signature. Tywin's host, pursued by ravens, signaled agreement. Kevin's diplomacy bore fruit, but Lion forces traveled circuitous route, sighting plague along main road, stalling for new levies. Harrenhal rose on horizon at summer's waning. Black towers melted by dragonfire, walls gapped yet vast, courtyards sprawling like dry lakebeds. At its heart, the hall of 100 hearths yawned cavernous, roof charred but rafters sound. Forest of tents sprouted in outer ward as hosts arrived. A market square formed where camp followers traded bread for buttons, rumors for wine. Arya rode beside her father through shattered gate. Memories of old Nan's tales whispered, ghosts of Harren the Black, Aegon's dragon's shrikes. But she felt thrill too, here choices carved. She spent first days mapping corridors, learning bolt holes, measuring echo of footsteps. Joffrey accompanied, Sandor trailing. They found Rookery Tower where ravens nested wild. They cleared debris, coaxed Maester birds to hand with bits of suet. Each dusk they practiced water dance in abandoned forge, their blades glimmering with fire sparks. Council chambers established in smaller stone keep. The Kingspire, its round table polished, banners draped equidistant. Lion, rose, stag, wolf, kraken, trout, falcon, sunspear of Dorne. Opening session crackled with tension. Tywin arrived robed in sober black, eyes cold. Olenna Tyrell accompanied Loras, cutting remarks. Balon Greyjoy's daughter Asha attended, swaggering. Prince Doran sent envoy Arya Hoda, stoic. Melisandre stood behind Stannis, scarlet silk whispering. Her red eyes lingered on Arya, as though reading Soulflame. Maesters tallied votes protocol. Each house prepared manifest of grievances and claims. Session adjourned to committees, grain, fleet security, rebuilding keep. Real work crawled slower than siege slugs. At dusk third day, Arya encountered Melisandre alone in God's wood grove grown through broken floor. The priestess smiled, warm and terrifying. "You carry two halves of one beast," she whispered, fingertip hovering near pendant. "Lion and wolf forging new song. Beware serpent of pale eyes. He slithers behind every oath." Roose Bolton, Arya guessed. Names blur. Intent remains. Melisandre's voice drifted like incense. "And shadows feed on broken crowns." Arya tightened grip on needle. "Shadows fear light. I wield dawn." The priestess laughed softly, drifting away. Months unfolded. Committees drafted new code of taxation sharing, defense pacts. Smiths reforged melted gates. Bards composed verses of unity. Yet distrust lingered. 3 fistfights among captains. A poisoning scare at Tyrell Feast. Ravens reporting Bolton raiders on the King's Road. On crisp autumn morning, Arya sparred with Brienne on forge floor. Sparks danced. Sweat gleamed. When bout ended, Brienne clasped Arya's forearm. "You fight like summer storm," she praised. "Hold steadfast in council too." Arya nodded, breathless. Outside, horns blared 3 rising notes, summons to final vote. In Kingspire Hall, benches filled. Lordlings, maesters, envoy scribes. Torchlight flickered on anxious faces. Maester Gorman of Old Town stepped forward bearing cedar chest. From within he withdrew scroll with tally marks sealed by each house steward. He intoned, "On this 17th day of harvest moon, lords assembled choose sovereign protector of the 7 kingdoms." He cracked wax. Silence deepened until Arya heard her own pulse. Maester read, "By tally of banners and proxies, 28 votes for Stannis Baratheon, lawful heir of Robert. 26 votes for Robb Stark, king in the north and protector of the Trident. 23 votes for Marjorie Tyrell representing Reach Alliance. 18 votes for Joffrey Waters to act as regent under council. 11 for Balon Greyjoy, 2 abstain. No single claimant attains majority." Murmurs erupted. Tywin's brow furrowed. Olenna's fan snapped shut. Stannis stood jaw iron. "Great council yields stalemate. Law still favors my claim." Robb rose. "Law may favor lineage. Realm favors shield that guards every field. North march south to end child murders, not seat another iron tyrant." Tywin's voice cut smooth. "Realm bleeds under indecision. We must forge compromise." Voices layered. Loras demanding justice, Asha mocking mainland bickering, Arya Hoda intoning Dornish neutrality. Amid clamor, Arya stepped forward. Hall quieted, surprised. She spoke loud, clear. "No man here holds full realm's heart. Yet all know winter creeps. Dead things stir beyond wall. My brother Jon writes of whites and blue-eyed demons. While we fight crowns, darkness gathers." Some scoffed, but Ned stood. "I witnessed whites at Winterfell's barrow," he affirmed. "Dead rose burning blue until flame freed them." Davos crossed arms. "My son saw same on Eastwatch patrol." Murmurs turned troubled. Arya continued, "We cannot face winter alone. Choose Triune throne. 3 protectors share burden. Stannis as law, Robb as sword, Marjorie as bread. Joffrey serves as bridge for children of realm, ward of small folk. For seats bound by oaths, none may war without council consent. Break oath. All houses turn upon betrayer." Stunned silence. Maester's quill froze mid-scratch. Eyes darted. Olenna Tyrell's lips curved. "Girl has sense beyond years. The realm does hunger for bread, and roses bloom in sunshine, not wildfire." Tywin measured Arya, calculating. "And what of lions?" She met his gaze. "Your house keeps west, mines reopen, debts repaid. But you kneel to Triune." She hesitated. "And release all northern prisoners." He drummed fingers.
Moment stresha.
Then he inclined head fraction. "For realm's survival, lions accept seatless loyalty." Stannis's nostrils flared. "Share power?" "With spring roses and north cubs," Melisandre whispered near his ear. He frowned, looked to Davos. The smuggler nodded slow. Stannis exhaled. Very well. For war against night, I bear crown of responsibility, not vanity. Robb's blue eyes softened. So long as North's customs and gods would stand unburned. Agreed, Stannis said. Maester Gorman scribbled, voice trembling. Motion to adopt 4-pillar regency covenant. All in favor. Hands rose, wavering, then decisive. One by one banners dipped. Rose, Kraken, Trout, Falcon, Sun, Lion. Last stag. Hammer fell thrice on table. Cheer burst, ragged then swelling, echoing through blasted halls. Some wept, others embraced foes. Sandor merely snorted, but his shoulders loosened. Arya breathed, chest light yet solemn. She felt hand clasp hers, Joffrey's. You forged doors, he whispered. Keys are in joints, she replied, smiling through tears. That night feast fires kindled under cloudless sky. Musicians played fiddles.